versus Hagar. Step forward, please.
26-year-old employment specialist Catherine Schreck is suing her former lover, railroad conductor Brian Hager, for an unpaid loan to get back on his feet.
Ms. Schreck, the defendant used to be your boyfriend. According to you, you made a loan to him in the amount of $1,000. Mr. Hager says that you did, in fact, give him $1,000. It was just that, a gift, not a loan. When was this $1,000 check, and it was a check, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Given to Mr. Hager?
The check was written on January 22nd, 2002, and it was cashed on January 24th, 2002.
Tell me the circumstances of the check, Ms. Schreck.
He was unemployed at the time.
Tell me of the circumstances of the check.
The check.
Ms. Schreck.
Okay. Mr. Hager was unemployed at the time, and he was also experiencing other financial hardships. And
how long had you been dating him at the time?
Approximately 3 weeks. He had disclosed that his ex-girlfriend was possibly pregnant and that he was the father. At that point, I had determined that I did not want to further the relationship beyond a friendship. However, I felt bad for him at the situation that he was in at the time. He had expressed that he was waiting for his tax return to come in.
Just a second. So if his ex-girlfriend thought she was pregnant, what did that have to do with money?
He didn't need money for that. It was just added stress in his life.
Who cares?
I cared. He was my friend at the time. I felt bad.
What were you doing?
I'm a facilitator for San Bernardino Jobs and Employment Services Department. I teach welfare recipients how to get jobs.
Good. Oh, you should have taught him. What kind of work were you doing at the railroad, sir?
I'm a conductor.
And you were let go?
No, ma'am. I was just laid off temporarily due to a slowdown.
For how long?
6 months.
And what did you do during that 6-month period?
Things are hard everywhere, so I just I collected railroad unemployment.
How much?
It's $1,000 a month.
And where were you living?
I own a home.
And you have a mortgage?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the mortgage?
Mortgage was $1,700.
So you were really short. Where'd you get the other money from? Did you have savings?
Yes, ma'am. I had money saved up in my bank account.
Now, you tell her that you're having some financial difficulties, and so what did you do?
So I offered to give him a loan.
What did you say to him? What did he say to you?
I said, my father just gave me $1,000 for Christmas. I just received my student financial aid. I don't need it at the time, but I will need it in several months. He said that he was expecting his tax return, and as soon as he got that, he would pay me back.
Okay,
so
where were you?
Span of 2 months.
Where were you when you had this conversation with him?
At his home.
Remember what date it was? Was it the 22nd of January?
Yes, it was.
That's not true, Your Honor. When she had given me the check...
Tell me about why you would tell this lady that you are having any financial trouble anyway.
Well, she could just tell that I was stressed. We were upstairs in my room, we were just talking, watching TV, and she just, she said, "What's the matter?" I said, "Well, I'm stressed out right now because, I'm having some financial problems with being laid off." She said, "Well, I got plenty of money. Why don't you just let me help you out?" And I said, No, it'll be okay. I'm going to be going back to work." We talked about it for a little bit longer, and once again I said, "No, it'll be all right." And I went downstairs, got a drink of water. I was coming back upstairs. She met me halfway. She said, "I'm going to go home. I have to go to work in the morning." I left you a surprise upstairs in your room. And I went back upstairs to my room, and there was a check for $1,000.
So what'd you do?
I called her cell phone and said, "Why'd you leave me this money?" She said, "Because I care about you, and I want to see, you be okay." She said, "Just consider it a gift."
I don't know if she said that. Listen to me. Shh. Are you her mother? You didn't hear the story that he just told? That's more real than what she told me. So you can laugh all you like. That's pretty much what happened, except just consider it a gift. That she didn't say. Don't go overboard, Mr. Hager. When you're ahead of the game, don't stretch the truth. The truth was pretty good for a while. Probably was a gift. I don't believe that you asked her for a loan, that there was a repayment schedule. I don't believe any of that. You have to understand that, Ms. Schreck. But now I have a question for you, because I was interested. When I wanted to hear what you had to say, Mr. Hager, I believe you, that that's how it came about.
Yes, ma'am.
Because that's what she would do. And she said, I cared about him being stressed. That's what girls do when they're in like. But then she was no longer in like with you, and you were no longer in like with her, and then we got the $1,000 that you've already spent. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
But you look like a sort of responsible young man. How old are you?
29.
And you own your own home?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So it didn't work out with her. So wouldn't a responsible man of 29 years old, a homeowner, you own your own car, I'm sure you have a bank account, you told me you lived off savings,
Yes, ma'am.
right? But then you went back to work. Why didn't you start giving her back this money?
She had told me it was a gift.
Mr. Hager, she's not your mother, is she?
No, ma'am.
She's not a sister. She's not even your best friend, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So then what a moral person does is say, you helped me out, I needed it, we're not together, I want to start paying you back this $1,000, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't that what a moral person does?
Yes, ma'am.
So you do want to be a moral person, don't you, Mr. Hager?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000, that's all.
Yeah, on the case number 336 on the calendar in the matter of Sirakowski versus Doe. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Ms. Sirakowski, you were running some sort of a baby contest or baby pageant.
Yes.
And the defendant entered her baby. She wrote out a check. Her baby entered the contest. Her baby didn't win. She stopped payment on the check. You want your money, right?
Yes, I do.
The defendant says that the contest was rigged, so she stopped payment on the check. Tell me about this pageant.
All right, Your Honor, this whole case is about this lady who has a major...
Shh. Pay attention to my question. Then we'll get along just fine. I said, tell me about the pageant. I'll figure out what this lady has or has not.
All right. It is a national pageant system. We did have a baby contest in it. Her baby did participate.
Where is this pageant or contest held?
It was held in Springfield, Illinois.
How many babies were entered?
There were 9 babies all told, 5 in her age division.
So tell me how it works. You advertised and you said there's going to be a baby contest. These are the age categories. And it says that you have to send in a fee for the contest?
Yes, you do.
Okay, and how much is that fee?
The deposit was $150. She pays the remainder of any fees when she reaches the pageant.
Now, what happens if they win this contest in Springfield?
If they win the contest, they win money.
How much?
She could have won a $500 bond. Actually, she could have won a $2,000 bond as an overall winner.
Overall winner
of one baby of the 2 age divisions.
Okay, so she sent in her $150.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
And then you travel to Springfield.
Correct.
And how much then does she have to pay once she gets to Springfield?
Depending on the events that she entered would decide how much more that she did owe.
What do you mean? I thought she just entered one baby contest.
There's several different categories.
Like what?
Photogenic, there is playwear, there is sleepwear, there are the prettiest eyes, hair, fashion.
And what do you win if you win the prettiest pajamas?
You can win a plaque, a laser engraved plaque.
A plaque.
Yes.
And each time she enters one of these little contests for the baby who looks nicest in their pajamas, there's an additional fee. Is that what you're telling me?
There is a fee for each thing that you do, yes, ma'am.
Sounds like a good business to me. And how many babies, for instance, entered in that contest if you have there the best looking baby in pajamas?
They all entered.
All 9 of them?
Yes.
And how much was the cost of each one of them entering that?
Well, it was $35 per category for that.
And how many of these little categories, eyes, pajamas, playwear, how many of those are there?
There are 5 for the babies.
And for that they get a plaque or a certificate if they win each
They
one.
could get a trophy.
Or a trophy.
The people who win money, crowns, and banners, and the big trophies are the queens.
I'm just talking about the things other than cash. So this is for you a business.
Absolutely, it's a
Okay.
business.
We're not talking about the baby who wins this contest gets to do some sort of a pilot for a movie. This is just pure ego on the part of parents. Is that right?
I would say so, yes.
Absolutely. It's just pure ego. Okay, Miss Doe, now I'll hear you.
Okay, we did do the pageant. My daughter was offered the prizes of the state queens, the savings bond that originated from her state pageant that I attended in Michigan. That's the only reason we attended her nationals, to receive the savings bond. We went to nationals, we did the pageant, everything was fine, except for she didn't have the savings bond. She said she would overnight it to me. So I started on my way home when I started looking over Lily's scores, which were amazing. So I called the hotel.
Just one sec. So you tell me she owes you a savings bond?
Correct.
Do you owe her a savings bond from a previous pageant?
No, ma'am, I don't owe her a savings bond. She did receive the savings bond, And, in fact, I didn't owe her the bond. The Michigan director did. She overnighted the bond to me. I told Miss Doe the day of the crowning it hadn't arrived yet, but it was coming, and I would send it to her.
Did you send the bond?
Yes, ma'am, I sent the bond.
Well, I assume then you have the number of the bond, that you can trace it. Now, how much was the bond for?
$100, Your Honor.
It's a $100 bond. We're not talking about a lot of money. But if you didn't send the bond to her, and you were supposed to, that you have to do. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Good.
That.
Perfect. I don't want to see anything.
This is the letter she received with the bond, and it tells about the bond. So if she didn't get the bond, why didn't she speak up? I got this letter, but I didn't get the bond with it.
That's what she says.
She's lying.
That's what she
Please read
says.
that.
That's what she says. If she did not get the bond, she has to get the bond. All right, but let's go on with why you didn't pay the rest of these fees.
I proceeded on my way home. I didn't check the scores. I just figured, okay, my daughter placed fourth. She's done that before. She's had her wins. She's had her losses. Well,
how many contests have you entered with her?
Beauty pageants, I've done maybe about a dozen of them.
Why?
They have prizes up to $10,000 savings bonds. It's always worth a shot. But anyways, I started checking the scores on the way home. My daughter has amazing scores, 9.8, 9.9. For instance, sleepwear, she got two 9.8s and a 9.9. Possible 30 points, she got, what would that be, 29.5. I've consulted with 2 other directors who said it's not physically possible 4 babies scored higher than a 29.5 out of 30 possible. Judges don't give straight 10s and straight 9.9s. I called her on the way home twice. Once she was in the pageant still, once I left a voicemail. She didn't return them. I contacted the state director who said to try contacting the parents. Maybe the parents will tell me the daughter's scores.
That's not true.
Well,
Don't speak.
I heard from 2 parents. One,
listen to me.
Okay.
Don't give me hearsay.
all right.
Go ahead.
Okay, I tried emailing her twice when I didn't receive the bond. Didn't get any results. So I filed a complaint with PayPal, the one I paid her through. They tried contacting her. She ignored them also and refunded my money because they couldn't reach her. They gave her 10 days to respond to the notice.
Okay,
and
just one second. PayPal. What's PayPal?
It's an online computer where you can pay them through your debit, credit.
They didn't have anything to do with the bond. You told PayPal that you didn't receive merchandise.
That would be the savings bond.
You wasn't
No, is
supposed
that-
to receive any
just a second.
merchandise from me.
Shh. Don't speak to her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If you have nothing better to do with your time than to take her around to show off her beauty, then what you're telling them from a very early age is that they are judged by the way they look, which is a very stupid thing to do.
And later today,
James had made threats to us and
That's
to
not
our
true,
home.
Robbie. I don't want to
When
hear
everything
from you.
turned violent, we had to have him escorted off the property twice.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Child Beauty Pageant Director Gladys Sirakowski says Victoria Doe owes for the entrance fee for her daughter. Victoria says she stopped payment because the pageant was rigged.
Still, the reason that you stopped payment was not because of this bond that you say you
There were
didn't
2
receive.
reasons, 'cause she wouldn't return
that you
my calls
say
about
you
the
didn't
scoring.
receive. The problem was you thought your daughter should have won the contest. As a matter of fact,
Not
when you
one
talk,
place somewhere higher. Yes, I do. 2 other judges or directors agreed.
They weren't there.
There were 5 babies in the
listen
division.
to me. Don't speak to her. How many times do I have to explain to you not to speak to her? You say in your answer that you believe the pageant was rigged. That's why you didn't pay her. It had nothing to do with the bond.
That's not true.
Well,
I
that's
had
what you
2
say in your
reasons.
answer, madam. And that's the only reason that this PayPal would not pay. If you had said to them, I entered my daughter in a contest and I think the contest was rigged and I want to stop paying, they would say, that's not a reason to stop. Listen, Ms. Doe, you want to schlep your daughter from one state to another to be in beauty pageants, that's totally up to you. I cannot discourage you from doing that. Sometimes she's going to win, sometimes she's not going to win. Sometimes somebody's going to be a favorite, and sometimes the whole thing is going to be a sham. If you have nothing better to do with your time than to take her around to show off her beauty, that's a very sad. How old is she?
2.
I would say at 2 you should be sitting home reading books to her, not schlepping her around from one beauty pageant to another. If you don't understand by now that this lady is in business to make money.
I understand that, Your Honor, but it's
Just a
also her job to
Listen to me.
consult with parents.
Listen to no, it
You
isn't.
can't take the money.
No, it
more.
isn't. You got to pay the money. You don't like this contest? Don't enter it again. You think without witnesses I'm going to find that this contest was rigged? It's not going to happen. I want to tell you something. Very, very good expression. Beauty fades, dumb is forever. What you're supposed to do if you have a daughter is to try to teach her that her mind is more important than her face. And I know that this isn't very good for the plaintiff's business, but if everybody out there would try to understand that what's in here is much more important long-term than what's here, and that usually children do not thrive from being schlepped from one place to another and primped and made up, dressed up, because then what you're telling them from a very early age is that they are judged by the way they look, which is a very stupid thing to do. Stupidity here does not get rewarded. She's entitled to her money, $321. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm very happy to be getting the money back that's owed to me,
If they weren't going to award my daughter properly, then I deserve the refund.
but I'm not happy with the picture painted of pageants and my business.
Everybody has their own opinions.
She's got a big case of sour grapes.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of AG versus Horry, step forward, please.
Rebecca Agee and her fiance James Crane are suing their former friends Scott Hurry and his wife Sarah for moving expenses and the value of personal property. The Hurries are countersuing for lost wages and emotional distress.
Mr. and Mrs. Agee, you and the defendants had been good friends. According to you, you were living in Oregon. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And both couples decided that they would be better off in their lives if they relocated to Iowa. Now, who came from Iowa?
We did, Your Honor.
So you agreed to sort of split the costs of moving and travel together. And once you got to Iowa, Mr. and Mrs. Hurry were going to help you find a job. I don't know whether you were going to live together, but hopefully you would both live happily ever after in Iowa.
Okay.
Well, it didn't work out that way. And according to you, things turned sour on the trip. You claimed that the Hurries owe you for expenses, property that they kept, mental anguish, and you also want them to pay for your trip back from Iowa to Oregon because it didn't work out. They say that they thought everything went along just fine. They have a counterclaim because they say that you aggravated them.
Breathe.
Breathe. All right. Let me hear it succinctly.
We thought that they were really good friends of ours when we met them. We moved into 10 Mile, Oregon, and they were our neighbors, and we invited them over many times for everything.
Let's cut to the chase. You decided to move to Iowa with them.
We moved to Iowa with them. When we got to their home in Iowa, they were rude to us. They put us in a small room with 2 cat boxes. I also have he's almost 8 months old now, my son. When we got there, we had no money. They were supposed to pay us for half of the U-Haul.
Which was how much?
$117.50. And they said that we owed them money instead.
What did they owe you money for?
We paid for everything, including the trailer. We agreed upon that we would also give them a place to stay, give them a job, and we did all of that. Above and
That's not
beyond,
true, Your Honor.
when they had reached Colorado, when they ran out of money, I had gone...
They ran out of money in Colorado?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. His parents helped them out to get gas, and they came up to Wyoming
And met
finally
us where we
and
were
met us
supposed to
there.
meet.
Did you need to borrow some money from his parents? That's easy to find out, so just answer my question.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much money did you take from his parents?
Somewhere around
$33.
You mean the two of you were traveling with a new baby with absolutely no money? Now, wouldn't it have been more prudent to stay in Oregon and save a little more money? Save $500, $1,000. Save it up so that you're not driving around with an 8-month-old baby with no money.
We had the money, ma'am. We ended up paying for the U-Haul. Mr. Hari paid for the deposit on the U-Haul.
Are you saying $117? Is that what
No.
you're talking about?
That's
how
half
much?
of it.
That's half of it. The full amount was $230-something, I believe.
Yes.
We would have had the full amount if they would have given us the money when we got there to make it all the way.
You're just not following me.
I'm sorry.
That's a big trip to make.
Yes, it
I mean,
is.
unless things are so terrible in Oregon that you weren't surviving there.
We were hoping for a brand new start, something new. They guaranteed him a job when
You
we
can't
got there.
guarantee anything. No, you don't rely on anybody for anything.
Yeah, we've learned that in the past
Well, you
couple
don't.
of months.
All right. His parents gave you $30 for gas. Did you ever pay him back?
No.
We haven't made it that far
Okay.
yet.
What's next?
When they reached Cheyenne, Wyoming, I went up to Becky, knowing they had no money left, and said, would you rather me pay for the rest of your gas to get to Iowa since you have no more money left, and that was the new agreement.
Okay, and you had no money for, just a second, and you had no money for gas.
Right.
So how much did you pay for gas for their car?
Approximately around $200, and we also were paying for food, which was a new agreement, so we had no problem with that.
And
What
we're
was the
not
new-
suing for that.
Okay, so it's clear to me you had no money.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you had to borrow $30 from his parents. And how many days were you on the road after you borrowed $30 from his parents?
Less than a day.
Less than a day.
And then you got to the house?
No, we
next
met
day.
in Cheyenne and we
Okay.
drove.
How many days was it
We
that
were
you
on the
lived
road.
in the house?
We were there for a little over
and a half.
24 hours.
How much did you spend in gas? I'm trying to figure out if we've used up this $117.
We have
Yes.
receipts, Your Honor.
I'm asking you,
From what point, Your Honor? I don't understand.
from the
question.
point you ran out of money.
We ran out of money in Longmont to
How did
Iowa.
you eat? Who fed you?
We stopped for food once with them. And
What
that
about
was
when
it.
you got to the house? You said they put you
They
in a
had
room.
no food at
They
the
had-
house.
Yeah.
They
They
had
had
no
no
electricity.
electricity.
We had to clean out the refrigerator.
Just a second. So how did you eat that day?
We didn't.
We went and bought them Pizza Hut.
Yes, we
We
had
bought
Pizza Hut.
them a whole bunch of food. The very next day, we also went out and bought them a big barbecue to have food, and we provided their baby with formula.
Does any of that sound right? You had no money.
No, ma'am.
How did your baby eat?
I had formula for him when
Listen,
I left
I'm not
Oregon.
bothering with this.
We-
They're not paying for your trip home. They're not paying for any of the moving expenses from Oregon to Iowa. They've already taken care of that. Now, you want to tell me what about the value of personal property you say they kept? What personal property did they keep?
They pawned our television set and
TV. What happened to their television sets? The only-
Yes, we did pawn it because she gave us every permission to sell all their stuff when they left, because they left and they had no intentions to come back, and she made sure that I
Yes,
kept
we
her
did, Your
green
Honor.
tub. She had a green tub full of personal belongings, like pictures, birthday cards, and stuff like that, that she had said meant so much to her. So I promised her and I swore to her we would not get rid of that stuff.
And for 2 days straight, it was, what do we do with your belongings?
That's
the
not
first
true, Your
night,
Honor.
it was,
he asked me
I don't-
how long I should keep. We should keep it.
the first night, I understand everything was in an outrage. She had said, I don't care what you do with my stuff, just don't get rid of my big green bucket.
Now, how much did you sell the TV for?
Somewhere around $80-some is what we got for it at the pawn shop.
Okay. Now, let me hear your counterclaim.
We're suing because, or countersuing, because James had made threats to us, to our vehicles, and
That's
to
not
our
true, Your
home
Honor.
I don't want to hear
when
you
everything
from
turned
speaking.
violent, and he was starting to push his way around, and we had to have him escorted off the property twice.
Your Honor.
Our neighbors,
When was that?
It had to have been in August. I'd say around the 25th.
And you haven't seen him since?
No, we
Your
haven't.
Honor.
Shh, speak not. And you haven't had any contact with him in many months, is that right?
Nope, not except for
What
video.
else?
And loss of wages is all we're suing
What loss
for.
of wages for what?
We think it is a waste to be here.
You should have said no.
Yeah.
What, no isn't part of your vocabulary?
No.
There you go. Somebody calls you and says, would you like to have your dispute resolved before Judge Judy Sheindlin? And you say, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to miss work. There you go.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So you get nothing.
Ma'am.
Zippo.
That's cool.
I have a,
Good. Cool. You get $80 for your TV. And go. Have a happy life. Goodbye.
Parties at. Shh. Yeah, this is case number 328 on the calendar in the matter of Kitt versus Gadsden. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Kitt, do you have family?
Yes.
Tell me about your family. How many are in your family?
I have 6 and custody of one other, so that makes 7.
Is there a Mr. Kitt?
My son and my nephew.
Other than that? So
No.
you have no husband?
Right.
Miss Gadsden, you want to tell me how many people are in your family?
I live alone right now. I have 3 children. My oldest is living in Atlanta with her father. My young 2 smaller children are with their grandmother. I'm in the midst of a custody hearing. Actually, I have a court date on November 22nd.
Have those children ever lived with you in the past year?
They left about exactly a year ago.
You 2 ladies are neighbors. Each of you has a complaint against the other, suing the other for $5,000. The complaint is really grounded in various forms of harassment. You claim, Ms. Kitt, that the defendant had you falsely arrested on 4 separate occasions, and that she has made numerous phone calls about you to Child Protective Services, alleging that the children who are in your care are out unsupervised. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Gadsden says that you're making her life a holy hell, and she is counterclaiming. So why don't you, Ms. Kidd, first tell me how long you've been living in the house that you currently occupy?
I moved there exactly January 1st of year 2000.
And how long, Ms. Gadsden, have you been living there?
I moved there 94. I've been there 5 years.
So you've been there a long time?
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you, in a couple of minutes, Ms. Kidd, tell me all about your case against Ms. Gadsden?
Well, about a week after moving there, my children were outside playing. It was right after Christmas. We had just moved there. I walked to the door, and Ms. Gadsden had a limousine come and pick her friend up. My kids, they admired it. They went outside to see, you know, run and play and look at it. When I seen them approach Ms. Gadsden's side of the street, they was like, wow. So Ms. Gadsden came out and said, y'all, MF's children are not used to seeing things like this. Get the hell away from my yard. So I walked over to her side of the street. I said, ma'am, I don't know you, but these are my children. Don't speak to them in that tone of manner. So I went on in the house, went to work maybe 2 days later. My kid's babysitter lives directly next door to Miss Gadsden. I brought you a picture.
She lives next door.
And I went to open the door to get my kids. Miss Gadsden opened her door and said, B.I., hopped and spit in my face. And it was, I just can't explain, but I knew I was going to get her. And I did. The same day, I hit her. I popped her in her mouth. Not even a year later, maybe about in April, I kept getting police calls and at my house at work. I come home one day, the social services was there. She told me that she had had complaints 1 week after another concerning my kids being unsupervised. So I took her to where my kids were at a babysitter, which was next door to Miss Gadsden. And they found no foundings. After they did all this, and I guess she couldn't have me locked up anymore, she started with having me arrested on false charges. I had to be bailed out of jail over and over and over again. Up until this day, I'm still being arrested.
Arrested?
Yes, arrested.
You have the police reports?
Yes, I do.
Can I see them, please?
I have some copies of those and the charges that were all dismissed.
How many times did you have her arrested for damaging your car?
2 times, ma'am.
Did you see her damage your car?
Yes, ma'am.
How come the charges were dismissed?
The photos that I'd asked a friend to drop off for me at Walmart, they did not get same day, development. They had 4 days. And when I went to court the next day, I had to wait until the day after court to get the photos. So the judge dismissed it because I didn't have proof, which made me very upset with my friend, of
Your
course.
Honor.
You think I believe that story? I don't believe that story for a minute. Let's go back a minute, Miss Gadsden. You have 2 young children. How old are your children?
6 and 8 years old.
The children were removed by social services? Yes.
They were not removed from me. They were placed with their father temporarily.
They were placed with their father by social services.
Okay. They were actually picked up. My oldest daughter was home with the children, and she walked out. She was, in a sense, envious of her 2 younger sisters. She thought that we had a closer relationship than she did. She'd come here from Georgia with her father, and she walked out and called the police and left the 2 children there. The police then took the children to my licensed daycare provider.
Miss Gadsden.
And then from there.
Is what you're telling me that you had a misunderstanding with your older daughter, and because there was a misunderstanding with her, she was jealous of the 2 younger children, she left them alone, and because of that, social services placed your 2 children with their father?
Right.
And they'd been with their father for over a year because of that?
No, ma'am. After placing them with him, well, they went immediately from my house to the licensed daycare provider that I had. From there, the father picked them up, and they allowed him to have temporary custody until I completed whatever needed to be done through the Division of Social Services.
But Ms. Gadsden, there's a major piece there that you're not telling me, and
yes,
I want you to say, I was in family court for 25 years. I don't know if it's substance abuse involved.
No, none.
I don't know if there were prior incidents of leaving the children alone.
No,
I'm not sure. I don't know. But I know that if what the original story that you told me was that this was a misunderstanding with your older daughter, that your 2 younger children would have been back in a blink. It was not that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have you ever been arrested for anything?
Yes, assault and battery.
What else?
Forgery.
After 92.
Petty larceny. I don't remember the years, but I know charges.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lynette Kitt says neighbor Tanya Gatson has had her falsely arrested on 4 separate occasions. Tanya says Lynette hangs out with drug dealers.
Yeah. So now I hear a whole bunch of false arrests and a whole bunch of stuff that you've been aggravating her. Now let me hear how she's aggravated you.
If I may begin with, there are other people living in her house, and they are individuals that aren't on leases there. They reach in their socks and they give her things that she pays for at the door, and I have witnesses that have written statements, and I've kind of highlighted where the drugs are in our neighborhood, and there's definitely drug trafficking going on in that vicinity. My last day coming home to my home,
Put that down.
I watched an individual walk up to Mrs. Kitt's window. There is an individual, I would not like to call his name, that is banned from our neighborhood, that was known to be shooting in our neighborhood. I've made several police calls about that is in Mrs. Kitt's home now. Mrs. Kitt, from 7 in the morning to about 2, 3 in the morning, it's like a blowhorn from across the street to the street behind my street to a lady by the name of Renee that she's now pulled a knife on and had Renee removed from the neighborhood. Renee pulled a baseball bat in return. On July, the 12th day, I rented that limousine for my friend, not in September. There were children from the neighborhood, yes, but they weren't Miss Kitt's children. It was Mrs. Kitt that, as I said, excuse me, coming down from my front grass, the kids were all looking, and yes, and I brought my friend outside as a surprise because he'd done a very kind thing for me. And I said, excuse me, please. And she replied with vulgar language, and I was really torn up that I had to be assaulted to do something nice for a friend by this lady across the street. I have, Your Honor, I don't know how else to say, just had about 7 court dates with Miss Kitt.
Just a second. Miss Kitt, would you tell me how many children who live in your home are your biological children?
4 of them are, Your Honor.
Confused. 5 or 4?
Well, I count my nephew. I have custody of him. But biologically, 4 of mine live there.
Okay. What other children live in your house?
None other, and no one else, Your Honor.
Have you ever been arrested for drug sales?
No, ma'am.
Other than the arrests that were caused by complaints by Miss Gadsden, have you ever been arrested for anything?
Yes, assault and battery.
When?
2 years this year.
Who was the complainant in that case?
Another young lady.
From the neighborhood?
Yes.
And what was the result of that case?
Dismissed.
Did she allege that you assaulted her?
Yes. Yes,
and
she did.
Did you allege that you were the victim and that she assaulted you?
I said I didn't do it.
You said you just didn't do it?
I didn't do it.
Did you go to trial?
Yes, I did.
And you were acquitted after trial?
Yes.
And that's the only arrest you had anywhere?
Oh, no, ma'am. I have some, like 10 years ago.
For
12
what?
years ago.
What else?
Driving.
Other than driving?
Forgery.
What year?
92.
After 92?
94.
For what?
No, 96 was driving.
Between 92 and 96?
Petty larceny. I don't remember the years, but I know charges.
When was the last time you were incarcerated? Think carefully.
96.
How long?
45 days.
Is that on a plea or a conviction?
Conviction.
Who watched your children?
Their fathers. 2 of them were in DCS because their fathers were Navy.
Now, Ms. Gadsden, I'm going to ask you the same question. Other than instances involving Miss Kitt, have you ever been arrested?
Yes, ma'am.
When was the last time you were arrested?
This was dated on, if maybe the deputy could help me.
No, just tell me. It had nothing to do with Miss Kitt.
Indirectly, yes, ma'am. This was a summons that was for my children's father and I for court, and Miss Kitt thought this was a summons for her and I in court, and I have a witness here that watched her take the summons off my door.
Other than anything having to do with Miss Kitt, have you ever been arrested?
This is a failure to appear.
Listen to me
Yes,
very
ma'am.
carefully, Miss Gadsden. Other than any instance that even tangentially involves Miss Kitt, Have you ever been arrested?
I don't think so.
Don't give me I don't think so.
In my home, prior to 2000.
In your home, out of your home, in the theater, in a restaurant, in the street. Have you ever been arrested?
When
in a
this
car?
individual came to my door,
just answer yes or no.
Yes.
You have been arrested.
The officer accidentally arrested me, and he was the one that had assaulted me.
Okay, fine. Other than that instance, madam, other than that instance, prior to 2000, have you ever been arrested?
Prior to 2000?
Yeah.
I was not arrested. I turned myself in after I found that the children's father's girlfriend filed a warrant against me in the city of Chesapeake, a counter warrant, and actually the incident occurred in the city of Norfolk.
I want you ladies to listen to me very, very carefully. Are you involved in a custody dispute now with the father of your children?
No, ma'am. He is not participating in what social services has required. I've completed all of those things.
Oh, he's not giving you back the kids so fast.
He doesn't have the children, ma'am.
Where are they?
His mother and sister have the children around the corner from my house. I asked them to get them out of foster care because they were taken from him because he had no place to stay.
Okay, you have an older daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And two younger ones. You just told me 2 minutes ago that the two younger children were with their father. Did I hear that right? Did you hear that?
Let her explain.
Okay.
You just told me that they weren't removed, that they weren't in foster care, that they were with their father. I said that the state take your children. You told me no.
No, I apologize.
Wait, please, give me a break. Listen, you two ladies deserve each other. I would suggest the following to you. Listen to me very carefully. If you're going to live next door to each other, I suggest you have nothing to do with each other. Other than that, I don't want to be bothered with you. Goodbye.
These are excused. You may step out.
Envy. There's a lady that's on the porch on a chair all night long.
She never lets up. She let the judicial system keep me down, but it's not going to keep me down.
The young lady wanted a lot of attention.
I just know it'll never be over.
I think I've been getting all the attention in the neighborhood.
I'm a good friend. I would give her a glass of water. She needed it off the street.
I've got limousines, Lexuses, SC Lexuses, all sorts of nice things coming through, and nice people coming to visit.
She's a serial neighbor.
Evening gown, dates, tuxedos, and she has nothing.
She spit in my face.
I opened my door, heard her on the porch at the neighbor's house, reached over to check my mail, and someone stepped up and did that.
Something is wrong. Definitely wrong.
I'm moving. You'll never see me again.
She needs a straight jacket.
I'm gone, Mrs. Kidd.
I'm gonna keep praying.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hall versus Carlton. Step forward, please.
Registered nurse Cynthia Hall is suing artist Della Carlton for the money she paid to have a mural painted. Cynthia says Della did a poor job.
Miss Hall, you hired the defendant to paint a mural in the nursery, in your baby's nursery.
Yes, Your Honor.
Paid her $200.
Yes.
She painted the mural. You say it was less than quality work. You want your money back.
Yes, Your Honor.
Defendant says she did a reasonable job and you're entitled to nothing. How did you find the defendant?
I went to a local baby store called Gore's in Sacramento, and they had a portfolio of her, and she really had a really nice portfolio there. So I was kind of at the end of my pregnancy and really wanted to get someone to do the mural for me right away. So.
And in her portfolio, did it list references?
I didn't see any references.
Did you ask her for references?
No, I didn't.
And she came to your house?
She came to my house.
First you called her on the phone?
Yes.
Did you set a price with her on the phone?
Over the phone, we didn't really set a price. She actually came out, and I kind of discussed with her what I was wanting, but no price was set over the phone.
And so you discussed price when she came out to the house?
Yes.
And she was going to charge you?
Originally, I told her $300 for the labor.
And then?
Then later I realized I hadn't told her that I usually got $30 for supplies. So the total cost, I priced it at $330.
Okay.
And then she told me that she was on a limited budget and that she didn't want to spend any more than $200, including supplies. So I agreed to that, and I came out to her house and did the artwork.
And how long did it take you?
4.5 hours plus.
Okay, can I see the picture of what you did?
Yes, Your Honor. What I have here is her photos. I have the photos from Gore's because she did the bathroom there, a mural in the bathroom at Gore's.
I'm not interested in the photos from Gore's. You made the selection. You selected her as an artist. That's your problem, Miss Hall.
Okay.
And she painted on the wall these little butterflies?
Yes, they're about 6 inches. She stenciled them. I was not expecting those things. I was actually expecting her to give me something more three-dimensional, something that I could actually kind of come to life. I asked for a dragonfly in specific.
Upside down, it looks pretty good to me. She did all these flowers here?
Yes.
Looks lovely.
You can see the eraser marks that kind of still showed through. After it dried, it really, really showed through.
Listen, you didn't pay for a $5,000 Picasso, madam. You paid $200 to spruce up your baby's nursery. It looks like she did an absolutely fine job. Baby fine?
Baby's fine.
Boy or a girl?
Girl.
Looks around at the flowers?
Baby looks around at the flowers.
Very good. If you don't like the flowers, paint over them.
But pencil marks showed through.
You paid $200 for this artwork. You got $200 worth of artwork, maybe a little bit more. Stop complaining. Don't muddle up your life with things that are really unimportant. She came to your house twice. She came first to give an estimate. She gave you an estimate of $330. Then you said, I can't spend more than $200. She said, okay, I'll do it for $200. She came out, she did the work. She was there for 4 hours. Certainly she's entitled to be paid for her labor. You paid her for her labor after the work was done. Is that right?
Yes.
Then later you looked at it, you said, I don't like this. I see a pencil mark. I see a smudge. I see an eraser mark.
That's because after it dried, it really showed through. You could see all
I want to
that.
tell you something. You certainly can't see that from the pictures. All you see from the pictures is lovely, light artwork. So concentrate on important things, not things that aren't important. The case is dismissed. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 464 on the calendar in the matter of White versus Askins. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss White, the defendant used to be your boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, he had you falsely arrested
Yes, ma'am.
for violating a restraining order that he had against you, and you want him to pay to the tune of some $5,000 for having you falsely arrested. Mr. Askins says that he could have made an honest mistake.
Yes.
That's your defense. When were you arrested on this violation of the protective order that he had?
29th of August, 2002, ma'am.
And when had he received his protective order?
19th of July, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Askins, why did you feel as if you needed a protective order against Miss White in July?
Because she'd caused problems at work. She's caused problems when I'd go out with my friends. She'd come by friends' houses.
Did she ever damage any of your property?
No, ma'am.
Did she ever assault you or touch you in any way?
No, ma'am.
When had you separated from Miss White?
Around May.
So far, is that correct, that you separated in May?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a final protective order?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you consent to that? Or was there a trial?
There was a trial, ma'am.
When was the trial?
The trial was on the 1st of August, ma'am.
Okay. He filed for a protective order because he said you were harassing him. Then on August 1st, there was a trial on his request for a permanent order. For a year or 3 years?
Forever, as far as I knew. It'd be permanent.
Nothing's forever. Let's say for a year. There was a trial. Did you have a lawyer?
No, ma'am.
Did you testify before a judge?
No, ma'am.
How could there be a trial? Did you have a trial in secret somewhere?
We had a trial, ma'am, and we were moved to a different courtroom, to a judge that usually doesn't do restraining orders.
I don't care whether it was a judge. Did you have a trial before a judge and give testimony before a judge?
Mr. Askins did, ma'am.
What about you?
No, ma'am. He just asked me if I wanted any contact with Mr. Askins, and I stated no. At that time, he made it permanent.
All right, so on 8/1, he was granted a permanent order of protection. Now, Mr. Askins, I want you to tell me what happened on August 29th that caused you to have Miss White arrested.
I was over at a friend's house. It was 2 other friends and myself. We were outside. It was late, probably 2, 3 a.m., something like that. And a car pulled up. When we got out, started cussing. It looked like Mandy White.
Just a second. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. You're outside, and a car pulled up. Were you sitting outside on somebody's porch? Were you sitting outside on a curb? Were you sitting outside on a grassy knoll? Where were you sitting?
Sitting outside on the porch.
And how far away was the truck?
Probably 30, 40 feet.
And it's dark outside?
Yes, ma'am.
So a truck pulls up, and very slowly you're going to tell me what happened.
A woman got out, started yelling cuss words.
Who got out?
A woman that looked like Mandy White got out, started yelling cuss words. I called the police and told them that I couldn't be 100% certain that it was her, but it did look like her, and the car was like hers. And from there, they arrested her, and the DA picked up the charges against her.
You mean you're sitting 40 feet away, and the person actually got out of the car and started to curse at you, and you couldn't tell that that person was your girlfriend or not?
Not 100% with it being dark.
Miss White, before the 29th of August. Could you tell me why you were bothering him?
I wasn't, ma'am.
Why would he think you were bothering him?
I don't know, ma'am.
Where were you on the evening of August 29th?
I was at home asleep, ma'am.
Could you tell me where you were when the police arrested you?
Yes, ma'am. I had left for work that morning at 4:40, and we go to Peterson Air Force Base to pick up a van, and we drive it to Schriever Air Force Base. And I had gotten my weapon, and I was on post already, and my supervisor came and relieved me, and they took my weapon away in front of everybody and said that I needed to go to the commander's office. We went to the commander's office, and they then told me that I was under investigation for disobeying a lawful order, which was to stay away from Mr. Askins. Then they also told me that I had a warrant out for my arrest. So Master Sergeant took me to the sheriff's office in Colorado Springs, and they arrested me at that time. And then the Air Force did an investigation also, and everybody was interviewed and investigated while I was
I'd like
there.
to see the interviews.
Yes, ma'am.
How many friends were you with that night, sir?
2 friends.
Your 2 friends lied to the police, right?
No, ma'am.
Oh, yes, they did. Seen the results of this paperwork and the investigation that was done?
No, I haven't.
Well, I'll tell you that when your 2 friends told the responding officer, because you called the police and you had some time to talk to your friends before they arrived, your friends told the police that you had all gone outside to smoke a cigarette and that your 2 friends each told the police that they saw her pull up into the driveway, curse you, scream at you. That's what they told them, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. And so did you. There's nothing in this original report that suggests, sir, that you told the police that you weren't quite sure who it was. It looked like Miss White. You and your friends told the police initially that there was no question that it was Miss White. Want me to read you what you said?
Sure.
He, that's you, stated that he went outside to smoke a cigarette, at which time he observed the dark bronze Saturn pull into the driveway. Askins stated that at this time, White opened the driver's door of the vehicle and stepped outside. Askins stated that White then began to curse at him. He stated that after listening to White curse at him, he told her to leave, at which time she did. Where is there any question in that statement that you weren't sure of the identity of the person? Then he goes on to interview, stated that he was watching television when he heard someone yelling. He stated that he got up, looked out the front door, at which time he witnessed White yelling at Askins. And then Mr. also stated that he witnessed White yelling at Askins. And then I have a letter saying that the military has indicated that they will recommend that charges be filed against all 3 individuals for filing false charges against her. Anything ever happened with that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm. The statements that each of the 3 of you gave to the responding officer were directly contradictory to the statements that they gave later. That's what it says here. You want to look at this?
No, ma'am, that's okay.
Well, Mr. Askins, how do you respond to that, sir?
If their statements were different?
Mm-hmm.
How were they different?
Well, it's different when you say it could have been my ex-girlfriend, but it was dark and I couldn't be sure. That's different from it was Miss White. No question. That's different. Don't you see it's different?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you think of any reason, Miss White, why Mr. Askins would want to be vicious and vindictive?
Because I broke up with him, ma'am.
Did you?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about it.
We were together for about 6 months, and we had lived together. And he was very, very controlling. He would get upset when I wanted to see my family, and he wouldn't let me go. So I told him we should just be friends, and we were going to sleep in different bedrooms because I had a 2-bedroom apartment. He said that was too weird, and so he moved out. And then he just kept following me, and his truck was parked near my apartment at all times of the night.
Did Miss White break up with you?
It's more of a mutual thing than anything.
Explain it to me.
We were just fighting, weren't really getting along, and
Did she tell you that she wanted just to be friends and that you could share the apartment but not her bedroom? Did she tell you that?
yes. And I did move out and also left like certain items, so like a couch, so she wouldn't be without a couch and stuff like that.
But she broke up with you. She told you she wasn't interested in continuing the relationship as it had been. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, so can you explain to me what would be her rationale? What would motivate her to stalk you if Mr. Askins. She broke up with you. Tell me why she would come stalking you and cursing you.
I have no idea.
She's not psychotic, is she?
I don't know.
Are you?
No.
Miss White, I have to make a judgment, and it's a very serious judgment that I have to make, because usually when you have a victim of a crime, if we were to award civil damages to someone who was harmed by being falsely arrested, that might have a chilling effect on the entire justice system, because people would have fear of coming forward, unless you can demonstrate to my satisfaction or to a court's satisfaction that someone maliciously and without cause filed a report that they knew or believed was either untrue or probably not true, and the police acted on it. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So what do we have here? We have a guy who was told to get out of the bedroom, that you were no longer interested in having a romantic relationship with him. He's out at 3 o'clock in the morning with some of his buddies, drinking. The three of them tell the exact same story to the police, that they saw you at a time when it was confirmed, evidently through investigation, that you were home. Couldn't have been you. As a result of which you were arrested, you were humiliated, and you want to be compensated.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm satisfied that what he did was malicious. And this is probably one of the first times that I've been so satisfied. I'm satisfied what he did was malicious. What he did is because he's a big baby. What he did is because he's probably too short. For a variety of reasons. In any event, I'm awarding you what you request, $5,000. That's all.
Yes, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's been pretty traumatic.
Got phone calls in the middle of the night, everything from her.
I think he's just a mean person.
Keep her away from me.
He started controlling her when they were dating, and he didn't like the fact that she didn't want to be with him anymore, and he was doing anything that he could to make her life horrible.
Victoria Ditas is suing her former tenant, 32-year-old Tammy Danka, for damage to her rental property.
Ms. Ditas, you rented your house to the defendant, and you claim that she moved out and she caused extensive damage.
Correct.
Over $5,000 worth
Yes.
of damage. Ms. Danka says no such thing. She left the house in fine shape. There was nothing wrong when she left the house. She says that you actually owe her security deposit back and some damages because she says you've been bad-mouthing her around town and to her new landlord. When did you move into her house?
On October 1st, 2007, Your Honor.
What was your rent?
It was $1,650.
Do you have proof of payment of the security deposit?
I do not have proof of that because it was all included in the first month's rent.
Well, show me the first month's rent check.
Don't have that.
Well, then, I'm not entertaining your counterclaim for security deposit. She says you never paid her any security deposit.
That's ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous. All you had to do was bring me the check.
Well, I have in the lease that it shows that it's $1,650 plus the deposit on there.
Yes, she says that you never gave her the security deposit. And all you had to do was bring me the check.
I didn't have the check because that was so long ago. I didn't think it'd
It wasn't so long ago. It's not so long ago.
I didn't think
It's
it'd
a
be
year
a
and a half
problem.
ago. What?
I didn't think it would be a problem to save that rent check.
You have to bring proof. This is court. Where did you think you were coming today?
I bought proof of a lot of other things, Your Honor.
Well, but the main part of your counterclaim is for security. Then you bring me the check that says rent and security.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Let me see pictures of the house before and after.
All right. The before ones. I have my own after pictures as well.
I want to see them too.
Thank you. Before. These are my photos, and these are her photos currently available online to show the difference there in the painting that she had me pay for.
Just a second. I just want to see the picture. Can I see the before pictures? These are before. Fine.
I have more too.
When was this picture taken?
That was 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Prior to her moving in?
Yes.
Okay. Now let me see your after pictures when she left. When date did you move out?
I moved out on the 30th of June.
Here are some. I have more. Also, please note that the water was left running in the pool to damage good carpet.
Just a second. This is dirt. That's just stuff. The stove is dirt. And this, I assume, is to show me that she left dishes in the dishwasher.
Yes.
And this is to show me that she left a dirty refrigerator.
Yes.
Okay.
There are more.
And this is to show me that she left stuff there.
Yes, we needed to know what she was going to do with this.
Well, I don't know what she's going to do with it. So far, I don't see $5,000 worth of damage. I see a lot of dirt and schmutz.
There were holes in the walls.
All I want you to do is show me. So far, I don't see anything.
That's it. The garage doors were broken. The locks were damaged.
Don't tell me anything. Show me.
I actually had a company come out while I lived in the home to give me an estimate because it was broken prior to us moving in. And I used a stick, and I have a 5-year-old little girl with a pool in that backyard, and she provided me no locks. And I had the company come out.
Just a second. Is what you're telling me that you put locks
She
here?
never provided. It was already broken.
I'm asking you if you put locks in.
I tried, yes.
What do you mean you tried?
I had a friend come over because I had added an estimate and she wouldn't pay for it. She said it was too much money. So I had a friend, in fear of my daughter drowning, to put a semi-lock on it to try to get it to lock. But the door was broken to begin with, so there was no repairing.
So what you're telling me is you lived in a house with a pool with a child and you didn't have a lock put on the door?
I tried. Yes, I did. But
you
it
can't
was just,
try!
Well, it just broke
again.
again.
Listen to me. Yes. When your daughter is laying face down in the pool, you tell her that you tried to put a lock on the door? Don't you realize how stupid that is?
Well, I had
it's not her.
in it.
Hey, it's not her child.
I understand
I'm not
that.
excusing
I
the fact
understand that.
you're trying to talk over me.
Sorry.
That's not going to happen. I'm not excusing the fact if it's true that there was no lock on the door. What I'm telling you is you're the mother.
Right.
You're not supposed to say I tried.
Right.
You're supposed to say I took care of it.
Right.
What else? I don't see $5,000 worth of damage, madam.
These are the state.
I'm not interested in that. I couldn't be less interested in your bills.
Okay.
I can only be interested in photographs of damage. So far, all you've shown me is a lot of trash and somebody who didn't clean well before they left. That's all I saw there.
No, that's the door alone. This had a lock in it. The people
Listen
that
to me,
moved-
madam. I see the door. I see the hole in it. I don't see $7,000 worth of damage, and I'm not looking at your bills. If you decided to renovate your house, that's your business. If you took pictures of the damage, listen to me very carefully. If you took pictures of a dirty toilet, then you should have taken pictures of holes in walls, ripped up carpet, banged out windows. But if you take pictures of a dirty toilet and a dirty refrigerator, and that's all you're showing me, then that's cleanup. For that, you get compensated. I mean, if you spent $300 to clean up the apartment, that's fine. But you don't get $7,000 for doing a renovation. Do we understand each other? Now, show me the pictures of the damage. I don't see any.
There's the dirty carpets that had human urine in them and feces on the carpet. They had to be removed.
Show
They're
me.
here. I'll show you.
Show me.
You justify human urine.
Show me.
Yeah, you know what that is. Here's the carpets. These were pale Berber carpets, very expensive. All of these are documented.
I'm not interested in your bills. I see trash on the floor.
No, there were dirty carpets. They destroyed the place. There were locks broken. These are honest people in Palm Springs that provided the services that will explain
Listen to me
it.
very carefully, madam. She's not renovating your house. If
She's
you
not.
took pictures of a couple of cups, listen to me, stop looking through. If you took pictures of a couple of cups on the floor and you took pictures of a dirty toilet, then you take pictures of actual damage that I can see. I can see no damage on this carpet except for a cup and a bottle and some trash. Do we understand each other? Now, if you have a bill for cleaning the house, I'll see it.
The carpets were not clean.
If you have bills for cleaning up the trash, if you hired a firm to come and clean up the trash that you say was outside, like here, or to clean the inside of the stove, or to clean up this mess, then I'll see a bill for cleanup. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you have that bill?
Well, I'm under oath, and I can tell you that there were rocks and marbles down my garbage disposal.
Your case is dismissed. Your counterclaim is likewise dismissed, madam. You don't have any proof that you paid any security deposit.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 468 on the calendar in the matter of Hanson versus Carney.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Hanson, it is your claim that Miss Carney assaulted you at a party. It was a Halloween party, and it was being held at some firehouse?
Yes,
A
fire
firehouse.
department.
Adults were there, young people were there. Your parents were there?
Yes.
Were your parents there?
No.
Oh, okay. Now, Miss Carney, your defense is that, yes, you did, in fact, hit her, but she started it.
Yes.
So since you acknowledge that there was a physical altercation, I'm going to let you tell me what happened.
Okay. I had walked it since the moment I walked in. The first time I saw her, she had called me when I walked by.
I assume you knew her from before?
Yes.
From when before?
A long time ago, like 6 years ago, probably.
Had you seen her in those 6 years?
I don't think so.
What time did you get to this Halloween party?
I have no idea. Probably 9 or so, I don't know.
Was this person with you?
Yes.
What time did you get to the party?
It was at 9.
Okay. So you say you passed her by and she called you a name.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
Okay, and so we kind of ignored it and we were sitting at a table.
Not we. I don't want to hear about the we.
Sorry. Okay.
She didn't call anybody else a name. She called you a name.
Yes. Okay, and then we passed by before we went in the bathroom and she...
Who's we?
Me and 2 other friends. And then by the time we got into the bathroom, we had had altercation. She called me...
No. Listen to me very carefully. And don't look down there. You look here.
Okay.
She called you a name. You ignored it. Sat down. You and your friends went to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
As you were going to the bathroom, did she say something else to you?
Well, actually, we were going to the other room, which the bathroom is in a hallway, and we're going through the hallway to a different room. And she had said some other things. I don't remember exactly what it was, though.
Directed to you?
Yes.
Okay, and you kept walking.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
And then a few minutes later, we went into the bathroom, and her friend were in there. And
okay, so when you got into the bathroom, she was there.
Mm-hmm.
Who had to use the restroom?
We went in to do our makeup, actually.
So nobody had to use the restroom? No.
No.
And when you got into the restroom, the plaintiff was there.
Mm-hmm.
She was there with anyone else?
With her friend, I believe.
That would be you. Go ahead.
Okay, and so
don't look down. I'm not interested in looking down. I'm interested in looking here.
Okay. And so we had had an altercation. She was saying
Don't tell me altercation. Altercation is a conclusion. I want you to tell me what happened when you got to the bathroom.
Okay.
She was there already.
Yes.
What was she doing when you walked in?
Standing there. I don't know exactly what she went in the bathroom to do.
What was she doing when you walked in?
She was just standing there. She wasn't doing anything.
She was standing in the bathroom?
Yes, she was standing
near
in the
the
bathroom.
sink?
Yeah, well, it's kind of small, so yeah, near the sink, I guess you could say.
And what happened?
Okay, and I walked in there and she said, "Oh, you must have not heard me." And I said, "Yeah, I did hear you." And then we just got into this argument about my ex-boyfriend.
No. You must have not heard me.
Okay.
Yes, I heard you. She said, you said, come on.
She was saying how my boyfriend liked her and wanted her and I was nothing to him, blah, 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 blah.
You mean you're talking about 6 years ago?
Exactly, yes, 6 years ago.
Go ahead.
And so I just said, "You could have him if you want him. He's not mine anymore, blah, blah, blah." And then she was just on and on about how much he wanted her, blah, blah, blah. So it made me mad. So I threw my water at her out of my cup. And so she started to come towards me. I hit her. She pulled onto my hair. And then her dad came into the bathroom and grabbed me out and said, "You can either go out in cuffs or you can go out yourself." So I said, "Okay, I'm going out myself." Went outside with Whitney. And she came running out and pushed me and said, "Oh, it's all right, Danielle, I got her," and ran back into the bathroom. And so when we left, we went down to our car, and her dad walked by and said, "Oh, just remember, little girl, this isn't over yet." So I was like, okay. And they drove by about probably 10 minutes later, right before we were leaving, and they were calling me and stuff when they were driving by. So
that has nothing to do with the assault.
Okay.
You
well,
assaulted
you asked what
her.
happened. I told you.
You assaulted her.
Okay.
What part didn't you understand that you assaulted her? You can't throw water on her. Okay. That's an assault. And let's go through it very slowly. Remember, you don't have to have a good memory if you tell the truth. You threw water on her, and then what happened?
And then she came at me, so
then she came towards you.
Okay.
And then you hit her,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Where did you hit her?
Her face, I think.
You can't do that.
Okay.
Is that what happened?
No, it's not what happened at all.
So I've just heard a whitewashed version of what happened?
Yes.
Why don't you tell me what happened?
Okay.
This is bad enough.
Yeah. It was about 10:30 at night on October 25th. And I had not seen her that whole night. I didn't know she was there. Me and Ashley went into the bathroom to go to the bathroom. And about 30 seconds... about 30 seconds to a minute later, she comes in with 2 of her friends. And I say, "Hi, Brenda." She goes, "Why are you saying hi to me?" I said, "Because I was just trying to be nice." She replies, "Why? Because you my boyfriend?"
And I said, no, I didn't have sex with your boyfriend. She comments about my chin, insults me, so I say something about her hair. I walk towards the restroom, turn my face, and she hits me in my eye. And I have pictures to prove it.
What about the water? Didn't she throw water?
She didn't throw water on me. She hit me once. I kneeled down, I come back up, and I pulled her hair. She hit me again in the same eye. I let go of her hair, I grab my face, and my friend Ashley pulls me into the stall. And I hear my dad's voice. He comes in to the bathroom, and I hear him. So I open the stall, and he says 3 times to her, you need to get out of the bathroom. You need to leave the bathroom. And as they are leaving the bathroom, her friend turns around, throws her drink on my face, into my eye.
Which friend?
I don't remember.
Which friend?
Don't remember.
Which friend?
Which friend it was?
Don't speak!
Okay.
Which friend?
It was our friend Brianna.
That was
I love it when it all... I gave you an opportunity to speak first, right? Everybody else was quiet.
Yes.
If I had let you answer the question, you would have said nobody threw a drink at her. That's why I asked her.
Okay.
Because then I got an honest answer.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Danielle Hansen says Brenda Carney assaulted her in the restroom during a Halloween party. Brenda claims that Danielle was the aggressor.
Okay. You have medical bills?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please. What do you do for a living, Miss Carney?
I'm a waitress.
Where?
At Buffalo Hill Cafe in Georgetown.
How long have you been there?
About 6 years, 5 or 6 years.
Who do you live with?
I live with my mom.
Anybody else?
My dad and my brothers.
How come you didn't have her arrested?
Can I speak?
I would have had her arrested.
Your Honor, I'm Steve Hampson. I'm her dad. We did call the police. The first 2 sheriffs that did show up interviewed my daughter and had to go to the hotel to get the defendant out of the bar. They took her statement. A 3rd sheriff arrived and basically took over the whole situation. We felt it was kind of biased because the sheriff knew the family.
I assumed somebody knew a family.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
I assumed somebody knew a family.
No.
I assumed somebody called somebody who knew a family.
We didn't know any of the sheriffs that were there that night.
I didn't say you.
Okay, I'm just letting you know we had no idea who they were, so.
I didn't say you.
Okay.
Family, I said.
Or my family?
No, I don't believe that at all. Because with this kind of injury, I just found out the story. I asked you what happened. You acknowledged that you assaulted her. I assume you said the same thing to the sheriff who came. I assume you did because you told me that you assaulted her. So I don't understand if you assaulted her and caused her physical injury, why you weren't arrested unless somebody knew something. Unless somebody knew somebody. Certainly pleased that you're working, my darling. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may see.
Puff and her boyfriend Eric Grotman are suing their former friend, dancer Suzanne Longo. They claim Suzanne threw their possessions at a dumpster when she mistakenly thought Stephanie was sleeping with Suzanne's boyfriend.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. It's case number 232, Your Honor. On the calendar in the matter of Grotman Puff versus Longo. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
All right. Miss Longo, it is alleged by both of these plaintiffs that you destroyed their property and locked them out of an apartment that the 3 of you were sharing. You seem to acknowledge in your answer that you did, in fact, lock them out of the apartment, and you did, in fact, take their property and throw it in a dumpster. Is that right?
Yeah. But they didn't live there. It's my apartment. They didn't give me a dime for rent.
Doesn't
That
make
is
any
my
difference.
apartment.
They were
Okay.
living there with you, and you seem to feel as if you had some right to do that. You want to explain it to me?
Well, Stephanie went to San Francisco behind my back to my boyfriend's house and him and thought that she could still be my friend after that. And I was angry and I called up there and I found out just to talk to Brad. And so I just threw her stuff in the dumpster. Because I was, and she never was my friend. I went out of my way for her. I've done so many things for her. And she goes, my boyfriend.
How long did you live there?
I was staying there approximately 2 weeks.
And this is your boyfriend?
Yes, it is.
What property did she destroy?
She threw away most of the clothes I own, and several pairs of shoes, and a very expensive cellular telephone.
We have a list of...
I do, and I also have several receipts.
My God, I couldn't be so specific about what I had in my house as you are. How do you know that these are things that you had there? 6 pairs of socks? 15 pairs of panties? How do you know that?
I'm sure there were more than 6 pairs of socks. I just estimated 6 pairs of socks. There's probably things that are missing that I can't remember.
You were taking none of your property with you?
I had several things with me. A bag.
We just done 3 loads of laundry, and they were all at her house, not to mention a closet full of stuff hanging up that was inside of her home.
Where were you when all this was going on, sir?
I was in Los Angeles with a friend, and she was in San Diego where we all live. And she was in San Francisco, I was in LA, and she had assumed that since she went to San Francisco without Suzanne, that she had done it maliciously to sleep with her boyfriend, when in all actuality she was heading to Reno and just got too tired on the trip and decided to stay in San Francisco. And they were going to stay at her witness's house, at her brother's house, and they couldn't wake him up, or that he wasn't home, so they decided to stay at this gentleman Brad's house, who she's referring to. They had stayed there 2 weeks previously, all 3 of them. And so they thought, hey, maybe we can stay there, because we were just there 2 weeks ago. Brad said no problem, and they stayed there.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
There was not a closet full of things, and they did not stay with me for 2 weeks straight. They stayed with me for 1 or 2 days at a time, and there was exactly 2 bags of clothes, and that is all.
What about a phone?
Oh,
cellular phone. She said that you...
I never saw a cellular phone. I never saw a cellular phone.
Well, you were in pretty much of a rage.
Yeah, I was.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, then you have to pay for it.
It could have been in their stuff, and I could have, you know, thrown it away. It could have been in the bag already. There was some clothes hanging up, and there was clothes already in a bag, and I took the clothes that were hanging up and put them in another bag, and I took them and I chucked them in the dumpster because, you know.
Miss Longo.
Your Honor.
Just a second, Miss Longo. You have to pay for that. You can't do that. I mean, you called your boyfriend's house.
I know what I did legally was wrong.
Okay. You called your boyfriend's house. Nobody admitted to you that they were there sleeping together. She has her own boyfriend. I mean, you may not have liked the fact that she went there and stayed at your boyfriend's house without your permission, but you assumed that they were sleeping together. Nobody acknowledged that to you, did they?
His roommate told me.
I don't believe that.
His name's Mark.
I don't believe that. Why would anybody do that? Why would anybody stir up trouble?
I don't understand why she went there behind my back.
That's not the issue.
Understand.
That's not the issue. I mean, he gives a perfectly plausible explanation. The 3 of you had stayed there before. Is that right? If you want to act impulsively, Miss Longo, then you have to pay for it. Your clothes are worth how much, sir?
Mine were about $4.91 or so. I had some
well, that's
shoes.
not a lot. Women's clothes are usually much more expensive.
Yeah. He had like 2 shirts. That's about it.
What clothes did you have there, sir?
Liar.
I have them on the list.
Tell me what clothes you had there.
I don't recall. It's been 2 months. I had a dress shirt. I had a pair of Airwalk tennis shoes, a pair of flip-flops, a dress shirt that I had.
We've talked about the dress shirt twice. She's going to pay, but she's not going to provide you with a new wardrobe.
No, I understand.
All right, go ahead, keep going.
And I had the battery for the cellular phone that I purchased. It's a StarTAC. It's one of those little tiny flip phones.
Right, and how much was that?
The battery is $225. The phone was $600.
Phone was $600. Who spent $600? Who?
I made really good money this year, so I bought her a phone.
You bought her a $600 phone and paid $600 for it without a service contract?
I work for the company.
That's it.
I work for GT MobileNet. I made $70,000 in 3 months.
Just to say, that's not what I'm asking you, sir. There isn't a moron in this country that spends $600 for a phone without getting the phone for practically nothing, so that they can. All you have to do is sign up for a couple of years worth of service, and then you don't spend $600 for a phone. Maybe you spend $200 for a phone.
It was a $1,000 phone, and we got it reduced. It was one of the very small StarTAC cellular phones. You're right. You can get a very large phone for free.
Not a very large.
Okay,
sir.
you can get an okay-sized phone for free. I got her an extremely small telephone.
Well, why didn't she take this extremely small telephone with her when she was traveling?
I have a car phone,
I also bought her a car phone that's mounted in her car. So she took that one because it had roaming capabilities to go into San Francisco. The little small one didn't, so there was no need to bring it. She didn't need 2 phones.
I don't know if I believe you. I don't know if I believe that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think he needs some more plastic surgery and another boob job. See, mine are real.
And later today.
So you called Child Protective Services, sir, because he was using vulgar language.
Well, he was exposing himself to the girls, too.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 21-year-old dancer Suzanne Longo admits to throwing Stephanie Poff's clothing into a dumpster. Suzanne says she felt betrayed by her former friend when she thought Stephanie was sleeping with her boyfriend.
I don't know if I believe this phone business. Clothes, I believe. Phone, I don't believe.
Your Honor, can I?
Yeah, sure.
My witness, Ashley, she came to the apartment the night we left so I could pick up a few of my things. She was there.
Step
you can
up.
ask her.
This one?
Yes.
This is Ashley.
Yes.
What do you know about the phone? Right, that you remember specifically that night. Look at me.
She had the phone there. She put it in the bag with all the rest of her clothes. There's 3 bags of clothes in the living room.
Where did she take the phone from?
From the bedroom. I guess she had other stuff in the bedroom. I don't know.
Just a minute. She took the phone from the bedroom and she put it in one of the bags that were in the living room?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah.
What was the phone doing in the bedroom?
I had my own closet in her room.
Yeah.
And we have the phone plugged in to charge it.
Yeah.
And I thought about taking the phone, and I thought, I don't think it'll work in there, so I put it in a bag of clothes to leave it. I took the things I had and we left.
Ah, baloney. Baloney.
The phone has been shut off. The phone number's been shut off effective July 30th when this happened.
That's fine. Forget the phone. Forget the phone. It doesn't make sense to me that you take a phone out of a bedroom and unplug it where it's being charged and put it in a bag that's sitting in the living room and you're going away. It seems to me if you're going away for a couple of days and if your phone is in your bedroom, you leave it in the bedroom. When it happens to be the most expensive thing. Listen, there isn't a question in my mind that you destroyed your property. This is not a windfall.
Can I say one thing?
What?
She had exactly this much space in my closet. And this is how big it was. And this is where the 3 bags sat of clothes. That is all. She didn't have the whole closet. I had my stuff in the rest of the closet.
She said the stuff was in the living room.
She's a liar.
She said the stuff was in the living room.
Your Honor, I had clothes in the living room
I
and
think
I
it
had
was in
my
the
own
closet.
closet. She has 2 closets in her bedroom. One
Is there
closet
differing
was mine,
stories here?
and one closet was hers. And we had just done laundry, so I had 3 bags of laundry in the living room.
Okay. Aside from your 2 dress shirts, sorry, the 1 dress shirt, and then you said you had another dress shirt. You had 2 or 1 dress shirt?
I believe there's 1 dress shirt there.
Okay, so it's a 1 dress shirt, a pair of flip-flops, and sneakers. What else did you have?
I don't recall. When I made up the list 2 months ago when we were trying to do this in August, so I don't. That's
Well,
all
that
that's
doesn't
in my
sound like a
memory.
lot of clothes from somebody who was living there full-time, sir.
I wasn't living there full time, ma'am. She was, and I had just spent the night there a couple of times when she was there.
He had a pair of his jeans that I had bought him there, too.
That's
They're
right.
expensive jeans from Nordstrom's.
Lucky's brand.
Can I be reimbursed for rent since they were living there?
No.
Even though I don't remember her living there?
Just a second. Did you have an agreement with them to pay rent?
No, I let her
Then-
stay there for 1 day
Then
at
you
a
don't.
time.
Then you had no contract with her to pay rent.
She stayed there for exactly 5 days.
Listen to me. You have to have an arrangement to pay rent, an agreement. And if she doesn't pay, then you have a lawsuit. Do you understand?
Okay.
Good. All right. Sir, you look like a very natty dresser, which means you're a very good dresser. So I'm going to say that you had 1 good shirt, 1 good pair of flip-flops, and a nice pair of jeans. You're going to get $200. Madam, I looked over your whole list.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
She had taken all of her clothes that were in the closet, everything she owned, and had put them in the car, filled up her trunk and her back seat with her clothes. She had been tired of her clothes being in her car and living out of her car, so approximately 2 or 3 days before this had happened, she said, you know what, I'm tired of everything being wrinkled. Suzanne said, no problem, hang everything up. So she brought everything up, hung everything up. I took home the dirty laundry and brought it
I'm
back.
telling you, please give me a break. This case, $200 for, what is your name, Mr. Puff?
Grotman.
You're Grotman. You're Puff?
Yes, I am.
Okay. You're going to get $2,000 to replace your wardrobe, madam, and you're getting $200 to replace your shirt and your dungarees and your flip-flops. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. I'll back go to your right.
Quite frankly, I think she needs help.
Your face still has craters in it. Why don't you get some plastic surgery? How about a nose job?
And now the next case.
Parties on Beckman versus Hunter. Step forward, please.
42-year-old service technician Gary Beckham is suing his neighbors Chris and Jamie Hunter claiming their 3-year-old daughter Tiffany scratched his truck with a knife. The Hunters are countersuing Mr. Beckham for harassment.
That is the villain?
That is the villain, yes.
Cures him. However, according to your complaint, Mr. Beckman, this little girl over here is 3 years old.
Correct.
Your daughter took a knife or a sharp instrument and damaged your car.
Correct.
You don't deny that you did that.
No, I do not.
However, for some reason, you don't feel as if you're responsible for it.
It's not that I don't feel responsible for it. It's the initial lawsuit that he filed was for $1,650 and for 5 days of a rent-a-car, which I felt was a little out of line.
Okay. So it's not so much the issue of whether you are responsible, it's the amount he's suing for.
This is correct, Your Honor.
All right, so let's deal with that first. Sir, do you have the receipts for having the car fixed?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to see them, please. Sir, explain this to me, all right?
Okay. I originally sued for $1,650. That was the higher complaint, or the higher estimate that I got to fix my car. Everybody was telling me that it could not be buffed out. I do have pictures of the damage.
But it was.
When it was all said and done, I had a limit, Your Honor, and I had to turn it in. I was 2 days away from turning it in when the damage got done. Okay? They gave me a 30-day extension to get the thing fixed. I took it down to Crown Dodge. I says, fix it. Buff it out, paint it, whatever you need to do.
Okay.
I need to get rid of my car. They came back and said it was buffed out, fine. The dealership bought the car back. And so now I amended my complaint to $75, which was the cost of the buff out.
Oh, that's easy. See that? Out of pocket $75.
Correct.
Very good. So we've taken care of his claim against you for $75 from $1,650. So far, you're ahead of the game. Now, you have a counterclaim against him for $2,000. You want to explain this to me?
Well, Your Honor, just shortly after this incident happened on the 13th, a lady shows up at my door. She's from Child Protective Services. Somebody has called and filed this report here, anonymously, about my care and conduct of my 2 children. Now, when this incident happened with Mr. Beckham's truck, I was at work. They're generally really good kids, but this woman saw that. She knew that we took good care of our children. She closed this case, finding it unfounded, but noted that the day that the claim was filed, on the 15th for this incident, is the same day that that anonymous phone call to PSSA was made. There have been countless number of vulgar, rude, insulting...
Well, let me start with this. Did you call in this report to Child Protective Services, sir?
Me and about 5 other people have called Child Protective Services.
You called?
Yes, I have called.
Did you call on the date that this happened with your car?
No, I did not.
When did you call, sir?
It had to be 2 weeks later.
What made you call Child Protective Services 2 weeks later?
Just the vulgar language that I heard come out of their older son. He was talking to some girls, vulgar language. Something needed to be said.
When you're talking about their older son, you're talking about this little boy here?
Yes, Tyler.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The way he was talking to them, the vulgar language he was using, okay, that was conduct unbecoming of a 6-year-old.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 42-year-old service technician Gary Beckham says Chris and Jamie Hunter's 3-year-old daughter Tiffany scratched his truck with a knife. The Hunters claim Mr. Beckham continually harasses them.
So you called Child Protective Services, sir, because he was using vulgar language?
Among other things, yes.
Well, give me the other things.
Well, he was exposing himself to the girls, too. And that is not conduct of a 6-year-old boy.
Tell me what you mean by he was exposing himself, what you saw, sir.
I saw him take himself and show it to these 2 little girls. I even talked to the fathers of the 2 little girls. And the way he was talking to them, the vulgar language he was using, okay, that was conduct unbecoming of a 6-year-old. So I had to let somebody, in my good conscience, I have 2 boys, I have to let somebody know. So I called PSSA.
Well, what about the fathers of the 2 little girls?
I have no idea what they did. None whatsoever. I'm pretty sure that they were upset. They live right next door to these guys.
How many calls had been called into Child Protective Services?
This is the only one there you have any note that I know anything about, Your Honor. And Mr. Beckham nor two other girls, his father, have never come and spoke to me or my husband. And this is the first we've ever heard of this.
So what happened after this?
The case
was closed.
The case was closed and unfounded. It's just a constant and endless battle that we're bad to our children. We're not taking care of them. Just it's been one thing after another, all resolving back to a 3-year-old scratching this track. And I just didn't feel it was right.
Well, the fact that it may not have been right does not make it the subject of a lawsuit. Mr. Beckham.
Yes.
Let me tell you what I have a problem with, sir.
Okay.
You know I take child abuse, child neglect very seriously. The fact that you allegedly saw this little boy do what you have described is not child abuse, and it's not necessarily neglect.
Okay.
It is the kind of thing that a normal person would, if there was a normal relationship between neighbors, result in you ringing their doorbell and saying, "This is what I saw your little boy doing. You might want to have a talk with him." And you know, if you have children, sir,
yes,
you know that kids do that sort of thing. That doesn't necessarily mean that the child is being abused or neglected by his parents. So when you use Child Protective Services for other kind of relief, that takes away caseworkers from doing their legitimate work. That means the time they spent going out on this nonsense, they can't be investigating legitimate cases. That's wrong.
Well, you know, Your Honor, when you see somebody exposing himself to 2 other little girls,
you're talking about a 6-year-old, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We're talking about a 6-year-old.
I let the only appropriate people that I knew, other than management of the trailer park, which...
No, you let the right people know about it. You let the fathers of the 2 little girls know what you had seen.
Correct.
So that they could take appropriate steps, which means that they could have come to speak to these people. They could have said to their 2 little girls, "I don't want you to play with that little boy anymore." They could have taken specific precautions. What you did was wrong.
Okay.
Pay for your own car. This lawsuit and the counterclaimant dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you go, out the back door to your right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The social worker that came out obviously saw what it was worth. Absolutely nothing.
Account executive Robin Grant is in court with her 2 children, Marie 9 and Robin 11, suing their estranged father, Colden Grant. The kids claim he won't return the possessions they left behind after the divorce.
Order, all rise. Judge, this is number 273 on the calendar in the matter of Grant versus Grant. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Tell me your first name.
Robin.
And yours?
Maria.
How old are you, Robin?
11.
Maria?
9.
This is your dad. That's your mom. And I'm going to talk to both of you, because I've read your papers. I'm going to talk to you sort of privately a little bit later. Okay? So what I would like you to do for now is, this is Officer Bird.
Hello.
He's going to take you into my chambers for a minute to sit down and wait for me, because I want to talk to your mom and dad for a minute. Okay. All right?
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Miss Grant, would you step up here, please? Mr. and Mrs. Grant, from what I gather from your papers, you were married in 1975.
Correct.
And these are your two girls.
Yes.
You're now divorced.
No.
Separated.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And you lived in New York most of your married life, is that right?
Yes. All of our married life was in New York.
When did you separate?
November of 1986.
No, 96.
I'm sorry, 96.
So you were married for 21 years before you separated.
Correct.
And I gather that this separation was not a happy one. They usually are
Wasn't
not.
happy.
But that you left New York, Mrs. Grant. Is
I
that
went
right?
to Hawaii. We resided in Hawaii.
Who resided in Hawaii?
Me and the children.
You left your husband?
Oh, yeah.
Why did you decide to move to Hawaii?
Well, I had family there, and I wanted distance. So
Why did you want distance?
It was a horrible relationship. It became threatening on many levels, and I thought the further, the better.
How did you feel as if that impacted on the children?
It had to be negative and positive. It was positive because it took them out of a very harmful situation.
How harmful, Mrs. Grant?
Very harmful.
Was it a physically abusive relationship?
Oh, yeah.
You say, oh, yeah, you say that very mildly.
Yeah, I can say that now because I'm not in danger anymore. Yes, it was.
Was any of this violence in front of the children?
Yes.
Is that right, sir?
No, it's not true.
Well, if I asked your girls whether they ever saw you being physically abusive towards your wife, what do you think they would say?
They would say no.
Okay. Did you get permission from the court to leave the jurisdiction?
Oh, yeah.
I gave permission for the children to leave
courts
with
gave.
her. No, it was my permission that did it.
Why, Mr. Grant, did you give permission for your wife to go so many thousands of miles away with your children?
For my children to go through this, I couldn't let them go through any more court litigation, so it was me that said, let her have full custody and let the children be with her.
Do you have other children, Mr. Grant?
No.
The reason that I'm asking to speak to you first before I speak to the girls is the girls want their things back. That's what this lawsuit is about. I don't know exactly what things they want, and I assume they're going to tell me. But it's always a very sad thing when children are brought into a domestic situation between their parents. There's a saying that always sticks in my mind, Mrs. Grant and Mr. Grant, and that is you're supposed to love your children more than you hate each other when you separate. Children usually need two parents.
They should do.
If they've estranged themselves for whatever reason, either because one parent encourages it or not, they usually grow up eventually resenting the parent that caused the estrangement, and that could be either one of you. So, Mrs. Grant, I'm going to ask you this question. Let us assume that it was a miserable relationship with your husband. You think it's a good idea that your children should have negative feelings about him?
They're free to have whatever feelings they want to.
Well, you're the custodial parent, Mrs. Grant. So really, children are pretty pliable, you know, and they take their lead from whoever is taking care of them.
No, I'm not going to push the children either way. If they have negative feelings or negative thoughts, they can vent those. If they don't, they don't.
Okay. Well, what things do your daughters want from their father?
What they really want are the things from their bedroom, their baby pictures, videos, stamp collections, telescopes, microscopes, things of that nature.
Well, baby pictures and things, he says he wants to keep because he likes to have them. And I can understand that. You can make copies of those and send them to the girls, right?
Yes.
That's an easy. The other things are just things, microscope, stamp collection, those things. You have no problem with returning those to the girls, do you?
No, I have no problem.
But it's the pictures and the videos.
It's the pictures and the videos.
And that's also, in this age of technology, you can make copies, keep one for yourself, and then see that the girls get their pictures and stuff so that they also can look at times when they were little and maybe you were all a family and living happily together. All right, I would like to speak to your children. So why don't the two of you have a seat?
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I'm telling you that he loves you.
You're telling me.
I'm telling you that he
He's
loves you.
not.
Is it important for you to hear it from him?
No, because it's a lie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robin Grant is suing her ex-husband on behalf of their two children, Marie and Robin, because he won't return their belongings. Colden says he's being prohibited from seeing his children.
Hello, gorgeous girls.
Hello.
I understand you two are very bright. First of all, you're very tall.
Yeah.
And very lovely.
Thank you.
So you know who I am, and I want to find out a little bit more about you. I've just had a talk with your mom and your dad. And it's always sad when parents get a divorce. Right?
Depending, I don't think it's that sad because they're arguing and everything. So it's not sad that they're not arguing anymore.
To me, it was just about happy.
It's about happy. Why is that?
I don't have to go through a bunch of arguing and screaming and stuff like that.
So there was a lot of that in your house. But my sense is that your mother loves you and your father loves you. You're their only children. What things do you want your dad to give you back?
Well, I want my baby pictures.
Okay, let me tell you what your dad said about your pictures and the videos and stuff. Your dad's going to make copies of all the things because he would like to have them too, to see his children. You're his two children. He doesn't have any other kids. He loves you. And then you have a stamp collection.
Yeah.
Whose stamp collection?
Both of ours.
And he's going to send that back to you.
That's good.
And the telescope, is that what you want?
Oh, yeah.
And your dad said he was going to send that back to you.
That's good.
Okay? So let's take care of that.
And our coin collection.
And your coin collection. Very valuable coin collection?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, my mom traveled like all over the world, and she got different like kinds of dollars from different places and stuff like that.
Yeah,
well, is it your mom's coin collection or yours?
And she gave it to us.
Well, let me tell you this. It's really your mom's coin collection, if she was collecting it. There are certain things that are yours. There are certain things that may be a problem between your mother and your father. I don't want to get involved with that, and I don't think you ought to get involved with that. All right, so let's finish that. This is over. So let's talk honestly, the two of us, the three of us, two of you and one of me. You live very far away from your father.
Yeah.
Did you two girls ever witness any time when either of your parents put their hands on each other?
Yeah. Yeah.
You did?
Yep.
Tell me about it.
Well, once my dad tried twisting my mom's arm and stuff, so I stopped.
Yes. What else?
Well, sometimes they just get tussling matches sometimes. Tussling matches sometimes.
The two of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Colton's always trying to like talk over her and and stuff like you're brainwashing them and stuff like that.
That happens. You know your mom loves you.
Yeah.
So does your father. I think you know that. I'm not so sure that you understand that. He really loves you. You question that?
Yeah.
He loves you.
Well, my true feelings are that I don't really want to be around him anymore.
Why?
The way he acts.
Like what? You have to tell me.
Okay. The way he acts is like ignorant.
How?
I can't explain it.
Let's say something to you. You know, The truth of the matter is, ladies, just amongst us three ladies, sometimes guys don't always do the right thing just because they're older. Sometimes parents don't do the right thing. Mothers or fathers, even because they're parents. And you two gals are very smart. So in addition to being smart, you should be tolerant. Just because you're a parent doesn't make you perfect. Your father has disappointed you, right? Mm-hmm. You're supposed to not necessarily accept it and not necessarily understand it, but just say, he's my father. And I know he's made mistakes, but I'm telling you that he loves you.
You're telling me.
I'm telling you that he loves you.
He's not. You're telling.
Is it important for you to hear it from him?
No, because it's a lie.
No, it's not. He loves you. He really loves you. Would you spend a little time with him today?
No.
Hmm?
No, I've been with him for 8 years, and that's enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
They did witness a lot of shouting, a lot of screaming, and a lot of mutual pushing. They're very angry with you, sir. Your children will not grow up as whole human beings if they do not have any contact with their father.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robin Grant claims her ex-husband, Colden Grant, won't return their children's possessions. Colden says since Robin won't let him see his kids, he wants to keep the items.
Why don't you step back up, please?
May I sort of view these, please?
Ms. Grant,
Your Honor?
I am not condoning any act of domestic violence that may have occurred in your home. I will tell you from what I heard from the children, there was only one instance that your younger daughter told me about when your husband twisted your arm. While I'm not condoning that, we're not talking about an ongoing pattern of physical violence that the children witnessed. They did witness a lot of shouting, a lot of screaming, and a lot of mutual pushing, shoving. They're very angry with you, sir. Your girls are very angry with you. And Mrs. Grant, I'm going to make a couple of suggestions to you. In the short time that I had to speak with your daughters, they are so fixed, although your older daughter clearly is sad about it, at not having contact with their father, that I think it almost would border on the criminal if you did not see to it that your children were engaged in some sort of therapy. Because I believe it is a tremendous mistake for children to be estranged from a non-custodial parent the way these children have been estranged from their father. Terrible mistake. But it's a mistake for girls not to want to receive mail from their father, not to want to communicate with him at all. That says something to me about the custodial parent, Mrs. Grant, because I've seen enough children of separation and divorce where there is a lot more domestic violence that goes on, and those children still want to have contact with their father. These children, for some reason, do not, and they were not able to articulate to me any really valid reason for it. So I must attribute that to things that they've heard at home. I think it's a tremendous mistake. I think in the long run you will be hurting your children and hurting them dramatically if you don't change your attitude with regard to him. He's their father. You picked him. You were married to him for 21 years. You were together for 21 years. You made 2 children. These are the only 2 children that you have. And if he is less of a husband or less of a father than your children would like, that's it. I've tried to explain to them, he still loves them. They have to feel as if he still loves them. They don't feel that way, and they must be getting that from someplace other than him. So I think you're making a big mistake if you don't encourage your children in that direction and not say to me at age 9 that you're going to let her make up her own mind what she wants to do. Okay?
And I hope that Robin's anger stopped filtering over to the children. It's really her anger that have my children feeling this way.
Well, I don't doubt that, sir, because I've very rarely seen children so fixed with basically what I've heard in the back without the kind of history that would suggest that that they have a good and valid reason for it. The marriage is over, it's over.
Did Maria relate to you that whenever they want to speak to him that I allow them to call? They stopped calling because he kept lying to them?
Miss Grant, what I'm telling you is there's a difference between children asking to call their father and feeling that they are betraying their mother if they're asking to call their father because she's so angry. Just listen to me, Mrs. Grant. You're shaking your head no. I've been in this business for a quarter of a century. I've probably seen 10,000 separations and divorces. They're all not so different. And children feel that if they ask to communicate with the non-custodial parent, when there's so much anger on this side, that in some way they're being disloyal to their mother. So it's not a question of I let them call whenever they want to call. They have to be reinforced constantly with the idea that their father may have shortcomings, but he loves you.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Grant, you have promised me, sir, that you will return the children's things to them.
Yes.
That is their telescope, their stamp collection. I don't know about this coin collection that they spoke about. If you find it in your heart to return it to them, that's terrific. They certainly would like to have their pictures back, so you're going to make copies of all of those things and see to it that they get them. Return their things. It's stupid to have their things. Right?
Well, those are the only memories I have. I have no contact.
Okay.
So right now...
Well, but you know, you don't get warm from looking at a telescope, sir.
No.
So you have to return their things. It's important to them. So you can't be angry and also let that flow down to the children. It's a start. I don't know what will happen eventually, but Mrs. Grant, your children will not grow up as whole human beings if they do not have any contact with their father. By the time they're 20, 25 years old, it will be a void for them. And you should be protective of that. I think that you love them.
It's a void now.
Well, then you have to do something about it. You're their mother. You've moved them halfway across the world. So it's your responsibility to shorten that distance in whatever way you can, because they're going to have a void as adults. If they cannot accept the fact that good, bad, shortcomings, he's done things that disappoint them, this is their father, and if they don't feel as if he loves them, they're not going to grow up strong. That's all.
Parties excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He's an abuser. He's a physical abuser.
I never was abusive to her. I never was physical with her. She broke my arm with a can one time, and also she pulled a knife out on me.
Get the counseling, get some help, grow up, and he can be a part of their life. I have no problem with that.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Judge, this is number 84 on the calendar in the matter of Heron versus Brown. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
This is a sad case. Sit down. Pay attention to me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Heron, this is your daughter, I assume.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are suing the defendant, who is the mother of this young man, I assume.
Yes, I am.
Because you say that her son made your daughter pregnant. She had a miscarriage. Your medical bills for the miscarriage were almost $2,000, and you want her to pay half. Is that what this lawsuit is about?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I'd like you to step up here. You too. When did your daughter tell you she was pregnant?
The date was, what was the date? I don't
September, I believe.
It was around the end of September. That's when I learned of it.
Were you dating?
Yes.
Miss Brown.
Yes.
I know what the lawsuit is with regard to Mr. Heron. I'd like to hear from you as to why you don't believe you should be responsible for half of these medical bills. Your son is how old, 16?
16, yes. First of all, I don't believe that I'm responsible for half these medical bills because there was never a paternity test to prove that Dontrell was the father. Plus, all the stress that her dad put on her after he found out she was pregnant. I think it was about the latter part of August, I got a call from Mr. Heron telling me that Denise had got caught shoplifting a home pregnancy test, and he was really upset, and telling me that he had been nice to Dontrell, and Dontrell had took advantage, and when I told him, well, it wasn't all Dontrell's fault, and then he tells me, well, yeah, she's the one that came to your house like a common, and laid up with them. And so then the next thing I know, she's crying, saying that he had beat her.
Who beat her?
Her father, because he wasn't gonna let her have a, can I say the word?
I would prefer you didn't.
Okay, well, baby. And she stayed with her friends' houses, and even my daughter was concerned about her and was gonna let her stay with her because she was going through a bunch of turmoil. And I feel that all the stress that he put on her, and first of all, you know that being pregnant for the first time, you're scared as it is.
Well, how old are you?
16.
16?
And to have undue stress and pressure put on you by someone that's supposed to be protecting you then. So I feel that he caused a miscarriage by all the stress, and that there was never a paternity test to say that Dontrell was a father. I don't see how he can tell me that I'm responsible for half the medical bills.
Mr. Heron, I'd like to hear from you.
Yes. This is absurd for them to even suggest that her son is not the father. It's an insult and it's appalling.
Well, I don't think it's an insult and it's appalling, Mr. Heron, at all. Quite frankly. I'll address that. I'll address that first, and then I'll get to the stress part.
I would like to say that my daughter has been an honor student for her tenure in school. She's currently the treasurer of her high school. She was elected that. She doesn't sleep around or fool around or anything. This was the only boy that she had been seeing. And the first time I met this young man was he had been arrested for drugs at his junior high school. Helen here, she's just pulling anything. This stuff about beating Denise is just totally absurd.
Is that true, sir?
It's absolutely not.
Did your father hit you, Denise?
No. No.
Would you tell me if he did?
Yes.
Mr. Heron, what Ms. Brown is saying is not so bizarre as you may think, sir. Two 16-year-olds having sex unprotected, whether it was with him or with anybody else, is stupid. Two 16-year-olds having sex is stupid. Two 16-year-olds having unprotected sex is more stupid, or as my grandson would say, stupider. So, while I'm certain that Dontrell would probably stand up here and proclaim from the rooftops that this was his baby, is that right?
Yes. Well, even after the miscarriage, they stopped by the house. She even offered to help Denise raise the child.
His mother is a little more practical. His mother says, I'm not sure, because 16-year-old with all that testosterone flowing says, yes, the baby is mine. His mother says, how can you be sure?
Well, it's the only thing she has for her defense. This is her defense in chief, and it's all she's got.
Well, Mr. Heron, it's a very good defense, sir.
Well, when I asked her to then offer, a dime, she knows deep in her heart. She professes to be a Christian and to come to this court and even suggest that he's not the father.
That's not what she's suggesting, sir. She's not suggesting that he's not the father.
But there's a possibility that...
What she's saying is, under the law, in this jurisdiction and in every other jurisdiction, when you have a child out of wedlock, there is no presumption as who the father is. And in order to determine that, we now have very sophisticated testing to determine parentage of children. You know about those tests. They have blood tests, they have DNA tests, and they can prove within 100% who's the father of that child. What Ms. Heron is saying is, under the law, law. There is no proof that Dontrell is the father of this child. When you're married, it's a different story. When you're married, the law presumes that you are.
So we're left to go with a preponderance of the evidence here, which my daughter doesn't sleep around. They know that. They know what kind of girl she is. She doesn't have time for it. She's an honor student. She's, you know, keep track of her, you know, as best I can.
You didn't keep track of her very well, sir.
But if she was such an
Just a second, you didn't keep track of her very well.
Well, I said as best I can. You know, I do operate a business, and
Mr. Heron, that's what Ms. Brown is saying.
But if she was such an honorable student and so such an honorable person, she wouldn't have swore to tell the truth and then turned around and lied that you never beat her.
You're the one who's...
Because
listen to me, don't fight with each other. Did you tell Dontrell, who was your boyfriend, that your father hit you at some point in the kitchen in your home? Because that's what's in these papers. Did you tell... No, look at me. Don't look at the floor, Ms. Heron. Did you tell that to him?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If my 16-year-old daughter came home pregnant, I guarantee you there'd be a lot of stress in my household. A lot of stress.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. The father of 16-year-old Denise Heron wants Helen Brown to pay the medical cost for Denise's miscarriage because he says Helen's son, Dontrell, was the father.
Did you tell Dontrell, who was your boyfriend, that your father hit you?
Yes. Yes, I was upset.
So you told that to Dontrell, that your father hit you. What did you tell him about your father hitting you?
What do you mean, what did I tell?
I want you to tell me what you told him.
I said that he was yelling and got mad at me and started hitting on me.
Where did he hit you? Where did he hit you?
He didn't. I just told him that. I was upset.
Well, why would you tell him that?
Because I was scared he was going to.
So what you did was you told Dontrell a lie. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you understand, Mr. Heron?
Yeah, I understand that I'm out $2,000 in medical bills for an instance that I'm not responsible for. And
listen, you are responsible for it. You are responsible for it because this is your daughter.
Yeah, I can't watch all the time just saying that she can't watch her son, but nonetheless, we're responsible for our minor's actions.
Absolutely
now,
right,
I'm willing
sir.
to accept the risk, but why should the burden of this whole thing be placed on me?
Mr. Heron, if your daughter had not had this miscarriage, and if she had had a child, and if there was a paternity test, if there was a paternity test, and if it was established that this young man was the father of the child, he would be responsible for the support of that child, along with your daughter, until the child reached age 21. Right now, what Ms. Brown is saying is that while she believes probably that Dontrell is the father of this child, she's not certain. And she's not certain because of the miscarriage, there is no opportunity to conduct blood tests. And they are not married, so the law does not presume her son is the father of this child. So she doesn't feel as if she should be responsible. And in the law, she's
certain. She knows. It's
How does she know? Listen, the only way you can be certain is if you were there.
That's true. The only she knows, though she's not admitting to it. You know, she knows. If you ask her in her heart if she feels that there could be anybody other than her son, what would you say, Helen? Does Denise sleep around?
What's in my heart? I don't know what Denise does. I don't watch Denise.
Tell the court what you think.
I don't watch Denise 24 hours a day, but up until this point,
you certainly don't watch him 24 hours.
May I speak, please? I really, like I said, when all of this happened, Denise came to me and I opened up my home and I was there for her. And I really had hoped that she would be lady enough to tell the truth here. But if she can stand here and lie and say that he never hit her and he didn't put her out, why should I believe that it was my son's baby? Because it's so easy for her to tell one lie, she could have told another lie.
Well, what she's already done is she's acknowledged here, after some prodding, that she did, in fact, she says, lie to your son about her father beating her. Now, whether her father beat her or not is really not the issue, but it is an indication that your daughter is able to lie, sir, because she says she lied to him. You understand that? And I understand where you're coming from. You say, listen, there should be two people's responsibility.
Well,
I absolutely agree with you, Mr.
Quite
Herron.
a bit of lying going on. It seems as if Mr. Trell here would be following in his father's footsteps, who I guess is...
What does his father have to do with
Mr. Herron, don't bring... I would suggest, sir, that you not bring other matters into this case which really bear no relevance to it. Dontrell, I'm going to tell you this. You believe that you were the father of this child?
Yes.
Then you pay back Mr. Herron. Do you understand?
Yes.
Then you, sir, have a moral, if not a legal obligation, to do that. Now, you go to school?
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes.
What do you work at?
At a senior citizens home.
How much do you get paid?
$5 an hour.
And what do you do with that money?
Oh, I haven't gotten paid.
Speak
yet.
up, sir.
I haven't gotten paid yet, ma'am.
When did you start working there?
It's just a summer job.
And you're going to keep that summer job?
Yes.
Well, then I would suggest, Mr. Brown, that if you want to try to get back into this family's reasonable graces, you're never going to get into their good graces, but reasonable, and assume some sort of moral responsibility for an act that you probably had something to do with, you will see to it that each time you get a paycheck, Mr. Herron gets a check or a money order. Do you understand?
Yes.
Hey.
Yes.
What are you looking at? Where are you looking all over the place? Do you understand that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You got to learn to keep your pants zipped up, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Vincent Herron says Helen Brown's teenage son made his teenage daughter pregnant, so they should share the medical costs.
Your mother is quite correct. She's not responsible because they're not able to establish, because there's no baby here, that you're the father of this child. If you believe that you are, sir, you pay for it. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Well, are you going to do it?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
No, I don't. Listen.
And I'm the only one lying here?
Just a second. I'm telling you this. I don't know whether you two young people still see each other, either with your parents' knowledge or without their knowledge. But if there is any remote possibility that you will have a long-term relationship, any, you better start paying back Mr. Herron. And listen to me, Denise. Look at me. I'm not going to ask you whether you still see him, because I'm not going to create any more difficulty than already exists. But if he doesn't start making those payments, starting this week when he gets paid to your father, I would suggest to you that he does not have the kind of character that you want to hook up with permanently. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Good.
Your Honor, would a preponderance of the evidence suggest here that if he says that he's the father, I know that he is, Denise knows, Helen knows, but wouldn't the preponderance of the evidence indicate that I should get some kind of judgment?
Absolutely not, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely not, sir. There is not a preponderance. Listen to me.
As much in her favor as it is in mine.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You could bring anybody in off the street and say, I believe that they're the father of this unborn child. I want to be paid half of my outlay of medical costs. The only question that I asked your daughter here today, Mr. Herron, was whether or not you beat her. She said initially no. Then we went back to her and I said, did you tell him that your father beat you? She said yes. Listen to me. You say it never happened. That means somebody is lying. Do you understand?
There's no record of violence at our house at all.
No, listen to me. Your daughter said, Mr. Herron, that she told Dontrell that you beat her. That was, therefore, according to you, a lie. Is that right?
What does that have to do with the responsibility of the medical bills here? This is what I'm suing for.
Mr. Herron, you wanted, in order for you to establish, to my satisfaction, by a preponderance of the evidence, sir, that this unborn child was his child, I would have to believe...
He said, I said it, she
no,
said it. She's
I would have to believe your daughter. In a situation where the law in this jurisdiction does not hold any presumption of paternity. I am not prepared to do that. The only thing I am prepared to do is to make a moral judgment that if this young man believes that he is the father of this child, then he has the moral responsibility at age 16 to defray some of the medical costs. But his mother his mother, does not have that responsibility because she is entitled to know whether her son fathered this child before she puts her hand in her pocket.
But yet I'm responsible for my minor. She's not responsible for hers, you know.
No, sir, unfortunately, as the father of a daughter, that's true. That's true. It seems somewhat inequitable. That's what they have paternity tests for, sir.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Could I suggest this without the paternity test to indicate that it's 1 in a million chance? Is there a possibility of getting part of the judgment? I mean, instead of saying that I'm wrong totally, I mean...
No, Mr. Herron, I just told you he's supposed to pay the whole $900 because that's half of your medical bills, $900 and some odd dollars. What is it?
With me saying that I think the baby is mine, but would it matter the cause of the miscarriage? 'Cause like
No. Doesn't matter the cause of the miscarriage, sir. That's what you put in your answer. You say because her father placed her under a great deal of stress. No. Listen to me. I'm going to get on his case, so I want you to be quiet. What you're saying is because her father placed her under a great deal of stress, that caused the miscarriage, and therefore you shouldn't be responsible. I want to tell you something. If my 16-year-old daughter came home pregnant, right, and the father, she said, was another 16-year-old who went to high school, I guarantee you there'd be a lot of stress in my household. A lot of stress. You got to learn to keep your pants zipped up, sir. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Keep yourself busy. Get 2 jobs. Think. Use your brain. You know, this is the time for you to use your brain. I know using other parts of your anatomy don't require that much effort, all right? But get 2 jobs because he's out money, and if what you believe is true, that you are the father of this child, if you believe that, then you have a responsibility, even at age 16, to help defray the costs. We understand each other?
Yes.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
On the next Judge Judy. Alyssa goes with Steve. Steve and Maria had a baby. Alyssa says Maria keyed her Mustang.
Don't give me a lot of baloney. I know everything.
Real people. Judge Judy.
We discussed this in here. I don't want to get into it. If you want to question them, I'm through with the case.
This is really ludicrous that we'd have to be drug into court behind it. I mean, I thought it was a joke when he told me that he was suing me. I really did, because I didn't see how he could. I wouldn't want him to be seeing her anyway, because I don't trust this guy, because he's a total nutcase. He's a totally unbalanced, and if he was to catch them together, if he beat up his own daughter, I'd hate to see what he did to my son.
I just think he was trying to get more money than what, because the bill wasn't really no $900. His insurance paid for half of it, so he's trying to get more into his pocket.
Manicurist claims her business neighbor, Bijan Gadanian, scammed her into moving out of her premises so he could move in. She says she was promised $3,000 but never received it.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 107 on the calendar in the matter of Kennedy versus Gadanian. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
All right, well, this is an interesting story. Miss Kennedy, you had a beauty salon that was there prior to the defendant's business moving right next door. Is that right?
His business was actually there, but he just bought it. There was the first owner there when I moved in.
But he was not there when you moved in.
Right.
You have a beauty salon. He has a...
Paging and cellular service business.
Okay. And according to your complaint, you were in this salon for about 6 months when the defendant approached you and said that he was interested in expanding his space.
Right. I was in there for a year, and he had been in there about 6 months when he approached me.
Okay, so after a year he approached you and said...
He pulled me aside on the front porch and said, "Can we talk for a few minutes?" I said, "Sure." He said that he was... wanted to know how long I intended on being in my space.
And how long was your lease, Miss Kennedy?
I didn't have a lease. I was month to month. But I did plan on being there for quite some time.
How much was the rent on it?
$525 a month.
Okay. So the defendant approached you, according to your papers, and said, I'm interested in expanding my business. Would you like to move?
Right.
And you said what?
I said I had no intentions of leaving. Then he said I would be willing to compensate you to leave, move your business elsewhere. And I said, you know, let me think about it for a little while, and I'll get back to you. But I really had no intentions at the time of leaving. I had only been there a year.
So?
So I said, let me think about it. 2 days later, I came back to him, and I said, yeah, I think I want to take up your offer. I think that instead of moving someplace else, I'm just going to, you know, go to work for someone else. The market's really hard to find someone in my business right now, and, you know, I would love to just work for someone else for a while. And I said, you know, I need enough money to pay my bills.
What bills?
The loans that I had on the salon. I had one from the bank, and I borrowed a couple $1,000s from my husband's parents.
So how much did you ask him for?
$3,000 was the agreed amount.
And did he agree to giving you $3,000 if you would move?
Yes.
So he was really buying you out of your space, according to you.
Basically, right.
And what happened, according to your papers,
right,
which I read very carefully, was that eventually you were told that when he went to negotiate his lease with the landlord, he said to him, I'll give you half of what she was paying in rent.
Right.
The landlord said, absolutely not.
Right. He then came next door to me and said the deal's not going to go through, but by then I had already given my girls notice and found another place.
How many employees did you have?
I had 2 girls at the time.
Okay. Ultimately, you did move into that space, sir, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And you didn't give her the $3,000?
There was no agreement about $3,000, Your Honor.
Well, I'd like to hear your version of what happened.
Okay, I'll be happy to. Actually, she's right. I approached her. We casually asked her what her plans are, and told her about my intentions to move. I need a larger place. And at that point, she says, well, I've been thinking of moving. My business is not doing well. And I'll give you an answer. I got to talk it over with my husband. I'll give you an answer. And then a couple days later, she approached me and said, yes, indeed, I've talked it over, and I've decided to move. And she asked me for compensation. I said, Tracy, this is not, the right time to talk about anything at all.
No.
I don't even know.
No. Just a sec. Shh. Ms. Kennedy. Shh.
I don't even know if I can reach an agreement with the landlord. So please let me talk to the landlord, see if I can reach any agreement with him. And then if there is anything to talk about with you, we'll talk about it.
That doesn't sound right to me, sir.
No, that's not what happened.
Just a second. That doesn't sound logical to me, sir. So what you're telling me is the amount of $3,000, that figure, never came up in your discussion with her?
She threw that number at me.
Okay.
I'm not
so
denying
it did.
that.
So
Yes.
it did come up in your discussion. And you asked her if she would like to relocate because you wanted to expand your business.
That's not in the context it came up, though, Your Honor.
Well, you did, in fact, expand your business into her space.
That's correct, yes.
So this is what we have so
Yes.
far. We have your discussion with her about your wanting to expand, her throwing out a figure, which you acknowledge that she threw out a figure of $3,000. Your statement, well, it's not a good time to talk about it now. I have to talk to the landlord first. Now, did you speak to the landlord?
Yes.
And what was that conversation with the landlord, sir?
At that point, I offered a total of close to...
Not a total. I'm not interested in total. I'm interested in what you are telling me under oath that you offered the landlord for her store to rent.
I did not offer landlord a particular price for her space. I
offered for total.
For total.
Oh, okay.
My
We're going to
space.
get. I understand.
I'm sorry.
How much were you paying for your store alone, sir?
$550, $551.
For your store alone.
That's correct, ma'am.
And what did you offer the landlord for both places?
$900.
So, in effect, you offered the landlord substantially less than what she was paying.
That's correct, yes.
after she had given notice that she was leaving.
That's correct, yes.
So now you got the landlord by the throat.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Honestly, I had no participation in her moving out.
I'm going to give him a copy of my book.
And later today,
he advertised our show as Playboy Girls of Rock, as Playboy. And they were going to see a bunch of beautiful women in bras and panties.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tracy Kennedy says she moved out of her manicurist salon because Bijan Gidanian promised her $3,000. She says he never paid her and the whole deal was a scam.
The landlord has a tenant that's given him notice. He's got somebody else ready to move in right away. And you were going to get a bargain because you were going to get 2 stores for $900. Was your store the same size as his?
Bigger.
Bigger. So you were going to get her store for $400. You were paying $550 for yours, so the landlord said to you at that point, forget it, right?
Your Honor.
At that, just a second. We understand each other, this gentleman.
Glad someone does.
We understand each other, so don't we?
Yes,
so the
Your Honor.
landlord said to you, forget it, at first. Then you moved out.
Right.
You moved out in June, correct?
Yes.
When did you move in?
July 1st.
And what rent did you pay?
About $950. Close to $1,000.
You're a
Let's
good
say
businessman.
$1,000.
No, not let's say
No, I-
$1,000. Sir, you're a businessman. You know exactly what you pay for rent in this business. So let's not say about the $950. Exactly what do you pay in rent?
Your Honor, the only reason I say about because the rent itself is the rent, but there are some other triple nets and what have you that figures in that I'm not quite sure. That's what I'm saying about. That's why I say about $1,000. I'm sorry?
Rent.
The rent, the base rent is $950.
Rent!
$950, Your Honor.
So you still got the landlord for a couple of bucks, but he didn't give you the lease right away. Did you sign a lease with him?
Yes, I did, Your Honor. I had a year lease with him.
And you signed another lease for the second space
That's correct, Your Honor.
at a monthly rent of $950.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So the landlord lost that. So where's her money?
There was no money agreed upon, Your Honor, to begin with. She did not have to move. Honestly, I had no participation in her moving out.
No.
All I had with her was just a casual conversation for her, what are your plans? And she acted upon that.
I'm going to give him a copy of my book. Sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
I come from an old business family. My grandfather was in the appliance business years and years ago, and he's been long dead. I adored my grandfather. He liked to call himself a shrewd businessman. Some of the people that he dealt with sort of dubbed him with another name. So I'm aware of what you did. This story has a common sense approach to it. You wanted to expand. This lady was under the impression you were going to take over the same rent that she took over. Nobody would be hurt. She had evidently had enough of being an entrepreneur, enough of being in business by herself. She said, if I can just get out with these loans, I'll go and work for somebody else. And here comes the perfect opportunity for her to do that. And it's a perfect opportunity for you to more than double your space at a lot less rent. Because once she gives notice, the landlord is up a tree. So the only one that comes out ahead in this business is you. That's smart, but not fair to Miss Kennedy. All right, not difficult. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff, who I believe, in the amount of $3,000. That's
Thank
all.
you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back door to your right, please.
I'm sorry that the judge did not see the con artist
She
in
did.
disguise.
She saw you. Exactly.
She
If you
could
hadn't
have
made me an offer,
She could
I
have
wouldn't
stayed
have
there.
left.
She could have absolutely stayed there and
No.
forgotten about
No.
leaving.
The judge
She
was
had
right.
no reason to leave.
You're right. She saw the con artist. Judge Judy's the greatest.
And now the next case.
Parties on Russell versus Heinold. Step forward, please.
32-year-old entertainer Karen Russell is suing booking agent Chuck Heinold for non-payment of a performance fee. Heinold says the act wasn't what was promised.
Miss Russell, according to your complaint, you are an entertainer and have a group of entertainers that you work with. You dance and sing. You have a review kind of act. Is that right? According to your complaint, you performed in Bakersfield and you weren't paid.
That's
Is that
correct.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The defendant is not the person who didn't pay you. The club, according to these papers, stopped payment on the check.
This is true.
So why are you suing him? Who is he and why are you suing him?
This is the booking agent, Chuck Heinold. In my contract with the casino is with him representing me.
With who representing you?
Chuck Heinold representing me.
Let me see your contract. Go ahead.
And when we were doing business with Chuck, he knew at that time the type of show that we were producing. And my biggest complaint is that if we were represented properly, we probably wouldn't be in this situation.
Just a second. Miss Russell, one of the things I didn't understand from your complaint is he is your agent.
Booking agent.
He is your agent.
That's correct.
He didn't get paid. He didn't get the check from the club to give to you. So how could he give it to you? Because it was stopped.
Because he misrepresented us, the casino was not happy with the show. And basically, when I spoke to him the Friday evening, we had technical problems due to the casino's staging and equipment. He told me, don't worry, no matter what, you will be paid. If it has to come out of my pocket, you will be paid.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I'm telling you it's true. You say no, I say yes, I win, I'm the judge.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 32-year-old entertainer Karen Russell is suing booking agent Chuck Heinold for non-payment of a performance fee. Heinold says the act wasn't what was promised.
I'm reading your complaint, and I don't see anywhere in your complaint that he said, don't worry, I'll pay you even if it has to come out of my pocket.
Right. He said, don't worry, I have the balance owed to you, and I will come back on April 5th to pay you.
Well, of course, I understand that. He said he had the balance. He did, in fact, have a check, correct? He had a check from the owner of the club. The owner of the club subsequently stopped payment on the check. Is that correct, Mr. Heinold?
That's right, Your Honor. I have the check right here. I have a copy
I'll take a look
of
at the check. That's not what you said, Miss Russell. What you said to me was he told you that he would pay even if it has to come out of his pocket. That's not true.
Well, that's what
he never said
to
that.
us over the phone.
Just a second.
Okay.
He never said that because that's a very important thing. And if it was true that he said it, it would have been in your complaint.
I have a witness that he did say it. He said it to myself and the partner on the phone conversation Friday night, when I also found out that we were being represented as former Playboy playmates.
Just a second. I'll hear this witness if somebody wants to testify under oath that this man said, don't worry, I'll pay you even if it has to come out of my pocket. Who wants to testify to that? Let me ask you this question. Are you sure you want to testify to that, sir? Are you positive? Stand up here. First, tell me your name.
My name is Juan Llano.
Mr. Llano, I want you to think very carefully, sir. Are you sure that you want to testify that you heard this man say the following words? I will pay you even if it has to come out of my pocket. Did you hear that?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
When I talked to him directly the night before our last 2 performances.
And you're a member of this group?
Yes, I am. This is my company.
Did you ever say that to them?
No.
Why would he say that to you? You're so full of baloney, you people. Why in the world would your agent tell that to you? When he had a check in his hand from the people who you were working for.
Because I confronted him.
Confronted with what?
I confronted him because I've been in this business for about 15 years, and I know that people write bad checks.
I understand that, but you're suing the wrong person.
We're suing him for misrepresentation.
What kind of misrepresentation?
Former Playboy Playmates when we're not.
Who did that? Flyer.
He.
Just a minute. Just a second. Did you print that flyer, Mr. Heinold?
No, ma'am, I did not.
But the casino, when I called the casino, I said, where did you get this information?
Don't tell me what the casino said to you. That's hearsay.
Okay. When I was trying to find out where this came from,
yeah,
the source went back to Chuck Heinold. They got
that's
the
hearsay,
information
madam.
from this.
That's hearsay. That's hearsay. Now, you may have been upset with that, but that's not misrepresentation.
Your Honor.
By him. He did not, unless you can establish to me that he actually printed those flyers and sent them out. That's not misrepresentation.
Your Honor.
What?
He advertised our show as Playboy Girls of Rock, as Playboy. And they were going to see a bunch of beautiful women in bras and panties. That's not our show at all. We have a very classy show. For us to come into the casino and see outside the casino is a huge sign in neon saying Playmates,
Let me ask you this question, sir. Why didn't you leave? If you were unhappy with the promotion, you got there,
We didn't know about the promotion until after the second show.
The problem was, nipping it in the bud, is they were unhappy because they wanted to see the bras and the women, and we don't have a show like that.
You're wasting my time.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're wasting my time. You're suing the wrong person.
That's not true. He's
Oh,
responsible.
I'm telling you it's true. You say no, I say yes, I win, I'm the judge.
I know.
You are suing the wrong person.
Judge
he
Judy,
did
what
not
about...
pay. He does not pay you. The club pays you. They cannot, after you work, and you did work for the 4 shows,
Yes, we did.
they cannot give you a check and then stop payment on the check. That's against the law. It's not his check. You don't mind if you don't speak, do you?
No, I know, I'm fine.
Your lawsuit's dismissed. Go sue the right person. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Your Honor.
Out the back door to your right, please.
That's
Sir.
ridiculous.
And on the next Judge Judy.
And if you would have not have lied and said, we are Playboy Playmates, the owner came to me specifically and said, well, where's the play? We got people walking up to us thinking we were Playboy. Do I look like a Playboy Playmate? No, and I am not. I have worked so hard in this business to be who I am and to do well.
And I wish you the best of luck.
agents like you who lie and deceive and rip off artists who are just trying to, I worked for weeks. And for what? To not get paid?
You did get your commission,
and
right,
you got
Chuck?
your commission. Yes,
You
you
did put it in your
You are
pocket.
such a liar. You are such a double-headed,
That's all what we
two-faced
have to
liar.
And Emma Apollinario are suing their tenant, 34-year-old Marissa Matazon, claiming Marissa stole 2 pieces of Tupperware and her son ruined their computer.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 134 on the calendar in the matter of Apollinario versus Matazon. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat.
You folks rented a room in your home to the defendant, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And your complaint alleges that her little boy broke a computer?
That's
right. There's a very short piece about the computer in your complaint. And a very long piece about a piece of Tupperware that she took.
Here they are.
So, it says that you rented one of your master bedrooms in your home. Why did you decide to do that?
For extra money, Your Honor.
Did you put an ad in the paper?
Yes, we put it in the ad in the papers.
And she responded to the ad?
She responded to the ad, and she seems to be a nice person. And on the first day, she told us, it looks like that she already knew us. She tell us a lot of stories about her problems, even the first meeting. So we
So you
thought she's a
decided
nice
to rent her a
person,
room?
That's right.
And you were living there with your son?
I was.
How old is your son?
He was 4.5. And when I responded to the ad, I talked to them. I wanted to meet them and see if I can trust them and everything like that. And they lied to me. They told me that they only have 3 kids and a niece that living in that house. And then I found out when I was already living there were like 11 people with 2 sisters and 2 children of each.
So why didn't you move out?
I moved out because...
No, why didn't you immediately when you found out that there were so many people there? If that bothered you, why didn't you leave?
Right. I was in the middle of job change. And it was so many furnitures. I have a lot of things in the storage and a lot of stuff that I have to move. And it was a hassle because I got a new job nearby to that house in that city. So I thought that I can have a good relationship with them.
Fine. So it didn't make any difference to you that there were so many people living there?
Right.
You stayed there?
I did.
All right. Now let's get to the broken computer. This is not a big deal. You had a son. How old is he?
He was 4.5.
You say he broke your computer.
Yes, Your Honor.
Who saw him do that?
I got a witness, my daughter, who was inside the room at the time.
How old are you?
8.
8? What is your name?
Angeline.
Angelina? Come up here. Have a seat. Can you get up there? Sure you can. Hi.
Hi.
Did you go to school?
Yeah.
I have a few questions to ask you, okay? Because you're only 8 years old, so I have to find out whether I can swear you to take an oath in court. You're very pretty. Are you nervous?
No.
Don't be. What grade are you in school?
Second, but I'm going to be in 3rd.
Do you have a best friend in school?
Yeah.
Did you ever tell a fib?
No.
A lie?
No.
Did you ever tell a lie to your folks? To your mom, to your dad?
No.
Even a little one?
No.
Not even a little one?
Yeah.
When you told a little lie to your mom and dad, did you get punished?
Yeah.
Now, if I were to tell you that this was a duck, would that be the truth or a lie?
Lie.
Because it's what?
About that.
Now, Angelina, if I were to tell you that the judge, you know, that's me, right, is a young, beautiful woman, would that be the truth or a lie?
Truth.
Yes! Very smart little girl. Very smart little girl. Okay. Could you do me a favor, and I'm going to let you sit there. Can you raise your right hand? You know your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know this lady's little boy?
Yeah.
What's his name?
DJ.
Did you see him do anything to the computer?
Yeah.
What did you see him do?
He put the disk in the computer.
And did something happen to the computer after he did that?
Yeah, it broke.
How do you know it broke, Angelina?
Well, I didn't really check it, but my brother told me it was broken.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
But listen to me, you're
Your
not
Honor,
going to waste my time with
I got a
Tupperware that's worth
witness.
$3.
Not even. It's at my cost. It's only $1.65.
And later today,
All she could do was stand there and let him abuse me after 8 years of friendship.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marissa Madazon, a 34-year-old travel agent, says she should not be responsible for damage that Amante and Emma Apolinario say her son caused to their computer.
Now, did you have a discussion with the defendant about this computer?
Yes, Your Honor, and many times she agreed to repair it. She even called her friend to look at it. And all I was
Did you do that?
Yes, I tried, but I told them that I cannot accept it. But they are all over me and telling me that my son is the youngest, that he's the only one capable of destroying that computer.
Yes, go ahead.
She's a liar.
No.
She keeps on promising us, especially me. She told me before, after she moved out, after June 15, she went back to my house. And she said, I asked her, where is the parts that you want to buy for our computer? She said, oh, I already ordered it. I already ordered it,
Did you
and it's
tell her
my
that?
mind. That's
Did
my
you tell
responsibility.
her that you had already
That's
ordered
what
the
she said
parts?
to me.
Shh. Did you tell? Listen to me. Did you tell her that you had ordered the parts for the computer?
I said I will order it.
Okay. Well, then you agreed to pay for it. How much were the parts?
It's $100 something.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I thought that the CD-ROM was the only defective, but it wasn't the CD-ROM that was defective.
Sir, you didn't pay all that much money for the whole computer.
I did.
No, you didn't.
What happened is, when they told me that the computer is broken, the computer is all over, I mean, it's torn apart.
Bottom line is you agreed to pay for the parts.
This is what I said.
Period. You agreed to pay for the parts. Now, how much were the parts that you agreed to pay for?
It's $125.
Okay. Next, what's about this Tupperware? Tell me about the Tupperware.
Can I just say something before
No,
that?
tell me about the Tupperware.
Okay.
I'm getting frustrated.
Wesley went on June 15. Was it June 15? Yeah.
June 15, she left the house, and then she went back. She left Sunday. She went back Wednesday, and me and my husband and my kids are there, supposed to be leaving, going to church. And she went by, and then
Give me
she
the
said,
Tupperware,
okay,
please.
the Tupperware. She's asking me about the Tupperware. I saw it in the garage. I told her, I never see any Tupperware of yours. What I know is...
What is in the bag, madam?
This is what happened. Before I left on Sunday...
Is that the Tupperware that,
yes, it
that
is.
you're wasting my time about? Could I
Yes.
see it, please?
Here.
Yeah, it's funny.
Just a second. Whose Tupperware is that?
Mine.
Both items?
Yes. And I have more other parts that were stolen from their garage.
That's all I'm hearing.
That's why I wanted to tell you the story. Before I left, I asked her permission if I can leave my boxes because I didn't have any more room in my car, that
Just
I
a
can
second.
pick them up.
Which, I'm not interested in that. Which of these two items do you say is yours?
All of those are mine. I have a receipt here that I have lots of Tupperware in my house.
She bought my Tupperwares. I'm a dealer for less cost. Less cost of what I bought of my Tupperware. She bought.
Oh, you're not going to listen to me. You're not going to waste my time with
I got a
Tupperware that's worth $3.
I know, that's right.
Not even. Not
What?
even. Semi cost. It's only $1.65.
Fine. Would you give? You're giving it to her? Perfect. We've resolved the Tupperware.
I have plenty. She bought all my
Stop.
Tupperwares.
We've just resolved the
I'm a dealer.
Tupperware.
Can I say something?
About what?
She come to my house and she got the Tupperware without my knowledge. Without
I
her
told her
knowledge.
needs.
I'm the owner of the house.
Listen to me. Wow.
She admitted.
I couldn't believe when I read this complaint that there were 2 lines about a broken computer and 20 lines about Tupperware. I couldn't understand that. I still don't understand that.
Because
Must
we
be
have a
very
witness, Your Honor.
valuable Tupperware.
Well,
you
Your
now have
Honor.
it back. Quiet. Look, you have to pay them $125. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Big liar.
And now the next case.
Parties on Pinkham versus Crawford. Step forward, please.
26-year-old waitress Catherine Pinkham is suing her former friend and roommate, Chandra Crawford. Catherine claims she was kicked out of their apartment after getting into a fight with Chandra's fiancé.
Okay, you two ladies were long-term friends, I gather. And there came a time when you were living in different parts of the country, but you decided to move to California. Correct? And you decided to live together. Made arrangements to live together. You were looking for the right kind of place. And you were moving to sunny
California.
Right. But in the meantime, you found a boyfriend,
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
So instead of being the 2 of you, it was going to be 3. You should have known right then and there. 2's company.
3's a crowd.
So why don't you tell me what happened and what you're suing her for?
Okay, well, I spent over $3,000 just in moving expenses, moving cross country. That is not what I'm suing her for. Basically, it's we made arrangements. We started about 1.5 years ago that we're going to live together as soon as I finish school. I received my degree. I moved cross country. I was in the house from September 8th until the 21st of the month. That night, I realized that, well, actually, I realized little things here and there over a period of time that her boyfriend and I did not get along. I didn't like the way he was treating her.
What was wrong with the way he was treating her?
He tells her what to wear. She waits on him hand and foot. She pays all the bills for him. He has no job. He drives around in her car all day, sits on his butt and watches video games. And I just didn't like the way I ended up paying, like, I was supposed to originally pay a third of the security and a third of the rent. All of a sudden, before I was moving out, oh, can you pay half the security and half the rent? And I'm like, well, what about timeshare? Well, his job didn't come through yet, and da-da-da-da. And basically, I want you to pay half, and then we'll reimburse you. Well,
so did you do that?
I paid half, and I have receipts right here.
How much did you pay altogether?
$13.50, and I have all the receipts with her name.
Okay.
And then I agreed to do it as long as he paid me his share back. I never saw the money. And I'm like, I was there for 2 weeks. There were squabbles here and there. They tried to throw me out after 3 days because he disliked my sister. They didn't like my friend that came out with me that was also helping me in the move. So he decided, because he didn't like my sister and didn't like my friend, he wanted me out. So he tried to throw me out after 3 days, and I stood my ground and I said, listen, you know, I've invested all this money into this place. The last thing I want to do is leave right now. I mean, it was just a big mess. Well, after he barely ever maybe said 2 or 3 words to me at a time.
What happened at the end of September when you left?
What happened the night is I wasn't feeling well one day. We were watching TV. I mentioned there was a commercial on for a pesto crust pizza. I mentioned that I disliked pizza because I was living on the East Coast and that I prefer the pizza on the East Coast better and that I don't recommend eating it. He got up, stormed out of the room, and slammed the door. So I was just sitting there going, okay, what just happened? She came in the room 5 minutes later, Chandra did, and said, you've been bitching all day, da-da-da-da, about all kinds of things, and, you know, I can tell you don't feel well, and, you know, and I said, listen, Chandra, I said, I'm going to find my own place. It's just not working out because he's just not being very nice to me, and I've made efforts to be nice to him, and it's not working.
Okay, so?
So she went outside and told him that I thought it would be best that I moved out. He wouldn't come into the house, so when she came into the house, I kind of said, well, I don't feel well, but I'm going to go out and run some errands so he can come into the house, and you guys can talk, and I'll come back in a bit. I leave, I come back, I see him tearing down the street in her Jeep. I pull up to the house, she comes outside of the house shaking her head, going, you can't be here in 5 minutes. He said it was either you or him. And I said, you chose him? She goes, yes. And I said, well, can I go into the house and get some of my things? As I was in there, he came back. He was calling me pretty much every profane word you can think of, being very, very rude, getting in my face, threatening me, overpowering me, and, you know, and
so you left that night?
I left that night with nowhere to go.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I wouldn't pour water on her. She was standing next to me on fire.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Catherine Pinkham is suing her former friend and roommate, Chandra Crawford, because Chandra and her fiancé kicked her out of their apartment. Chandra and Tom say Catherine violated the terms of the lease.
All right, so far I have $1,350 for security deposit. What else are you suing for? Because the total lawsuit is $1,700.
Okay. I'm also suing for moving expenses for the truck that I had to rent the second day when I went back to get my things.
How much was that?
That's $153.
Mm-hmm.
And then another $153
for
storage.
What storage?
I had to get a
for
storage
what?
unit to put my things in. I was afraid they were going to be trashed, so I went back the following day with the police to get my things.
All right, Miss Crawford, first of all, where is Dream Boy?
Your Honor?
Where is he?
He's at work.
Got a job?
Yes, ma'am.
When did he get a job?
He was employed the day after she left. She left on a Sunday. He went to work that Monday.
Did he send her any money?
The arrangements to pay her back was between her and I.
So did you send her any money?
I tried to contact her, Your Honor. She never returned my phone calls. She never, after September 29th was the last time I spoke to her on the phone when she called me at work. I said, call me next week, I will make arrangements. She never bothered calling me back. She never left me a forwarding address. I tried on 3 separate occasions.
Did you feel badly about it?
Yeah, I felt horrible. We were best friends for 8 years. I mean, honestly, I really did not know this was going to happen.
But let me ask you this question. Tom clearly, when she was living there, was not employed and was home a good deal of the time, right?
Yes, ma'am.
How long was it that he wasn't employed full-time, that you were supporting him?
Your Honor, I wasn't supporting him.
Who
but
was?
He had part-time work.
Not
and
when she
it was
was
about
there.
3 months total.
So it was
but
about
I was
3
not
months.
supporting him. He was drawing off his savings.
So he had savings?
Yeah.
So why didn't he put in the money for his share of the security deposit from his savings instead of asking a stranger for it?
I asked her for it, Your Honor, because we were friends.
But that's not fair. If you have a boyfriend who's got savings, why should you ask her to dip into her meager savings to pay for him? Did you know that Tom had savings?
I did not know that.
Did Tom know that you asked her for money?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
How old is he?
26.
Does he have children?
Yes, ma'am, he does.
How many?
2.
How did I know that? Do you have children?
No, I don't.
How old are you?
28.
Mm-hmm. Where are Tom's children?
His wife and he have joint custody. They're with their mother most of the time.
Was he sending support for his children?
Yes, he was.
When he wasn't working?
Yes, he was. He was drawing it out of his savings.
I don't believe that. Miss Crawford, how long have you been with Tom?
About 6 months.
Keep your eyes open.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
All right, there is no question. I believe her that you threw her out of the house. According to your own answer, you pretty much say, I had to make a choice. Tom or her. I mean, you go through a lot of things here when you say, well, she didn't follow the rules and everything else. But I think that you know that you owe her this money. It's clear to me that your boyfriend clearly didn't like sharing his home with someone who was disapproving of the way he was behaving, especially the way he was treating you. You probably did things that irritated Tom, and that he's had a sense from the way you were acting that you were disapproving. So I can understand him not particularly liking you.
So can I.
But you can't throw her out of the house. You made that choice, and now you got to pay her. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount requested in the complaint, which is $1,782. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The night they threw me out, she let him call me every name in the book, treat me like a total and all she could do was stand there and let him abuse me after 8 years of friendship. She totally destroyed it. It made me feel horrible. It breaks my heart, but as far as I'm concerned, you know, it's over, and I don't care to ever see her again.
I wouldn't pour water on her. She was standing next to me on fire.
Time jewelry maker Charlie Weidman says he made a ring for his biker buddy Larry Torres and was never paid.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 332 on the calendar in the matter of Weidman versus Torres. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
What happened to you?
Carpal tunnel surgery.
Did it work?
Yeah, I can feel,
Good.
but I don't know how well.
Mr. Weidman, you and the defendant were friends for a while. Are those prescription glasses,
Yes,
sir?
ma'am.
You and the defendant were friends for several years.
5 or 6 years, yes.
And according to you, you do jewelry, make jewelry
I'm
part-time.
an electrician by trade. It's a little hobby on the side.
And you had a ring that he liked, and you agreed to make one for him.
Yes,
And had you discussed the price with him?
yes. He's going to pay me $700. We're trying to wrap it up within 3 to 6 months. There was no set payment plan.
And you made him the ring?
Yes,
Did you give it to him?
yes,
And did he pay you for it?
no,
So that's why you're here.
yes.
He got the ring back.
You gave it to him?
Yes, he came pounding on my door wanting his ring back. And I had it appraised for $300. He wanted $700. So I gave him the ring back.
He's lying. I wouldn't be going through all this right now if he gave me back the ring.
Why is he asking for $2,600 and not asking for the ring back? Because he's already got the ring back. He's just suing for verbal agreement, which I have nothing, he never said anything about that. He gave it to me as a gift. This man has stayed in my house, used my washer dryer, ate my food, drank my booze, never charged him a penny.
So
and now he wants $2,600 for a $300 ring?
Forget $2,600. But assuming, sir, that you were close enough for him to live in your home, right? Why would you think that at this point he's suing you?
He's mad about something. I don't know. He wants money. I don't know what it is.
Tell me.
I don't know what kind of delusions he's having. I've never lived at his house, for one.
You stayed
I've
at my
stopped
house
by,
many times.
a couple of times and spent the night a few times. We've gone out drinking together. And he's never given me that ring back, or I wouldn't be at this stage of the game.
Let me see the ring, sir. You say that you have one that was just like it.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please?
Like it.
Not the appraisal. Just take off the ring. Let me see it.
I want to give her this paperwork.
I'm not interested in your appraisal. Your appraisal is really not important. Well, that is a handsome piece. Is the one that you made for him similar?
Exactly.
Excuse me, can I say something?
Yeah.
He didn't make it for me. He had 3 of them, the same thing, that he already had. He didn't make anything for me.
Okay.
And then he gave it to me as a gift.
Well, tell me how that came about, sir, according to you.
Well, he comes over all the time, used to, and just sit around and have a few beers and drink and stuff. I've always admired the ring, and he said, here, you can have it.
You must have had a fight about something.
No.
Something doesn't sit right with me.
No, it doesn't sit right because every word out of his mouth's a lie at this stage of the game.
That's what you say.
I knocked on his door, wanted the ring back. There was this girl named Kelly. They weren't dating at the time. We went to Ojai to go have a drink, me and her girlfriend. We had a real bad time that night. And so she came back.
Hey, don't talk to him. It's irritating. Okay. So at the time that you went for a drink with Kelly and her friend in Ojai,
yes.
He wasn't around.
Yes.
And something happened when you were out there having a drink.
Right.
Had you already given him this ring?
Oh, yes.
Okay. How much before?
Approximately a month.
Okay. So, approximately a month, you have a drink in Ojai with the girl he's dating and her friend.
That's a little bit incorrect. He was not dating her at the time. She used me to start dating him, and then he decided in his own mind that, you took out somebody I wanted to see, and I'm going to keep the ring. And that's exactly what happened. And if he could sit up here with a straight face and tell you that I gave him a ring, I'm never given a woman a ring, and on top of that, I'm not sleeping with him.
That's a good thing.
That's pretty bizarre for him to even say that.
Well,
I've never given anybody a $700 item in my life.
Mr. Weidman, the reason, quite frankly, sometimes if people are really good friends, Mr. Weidman, don't get excited, please, sir, and don't shift from foot to foot. If you're a really good friend of his, it's not so bizarre that if you had several of these, even if you just had one of these, and he said, I really love that you might not take it off and say, I want it to please you.
I'm not financially able to give him a $700 item.
Okay. Now, you charge $700 for the ring.
Right.
Because there's $700 worth of gold here?
There's approximately about $450, $500
worth of gold, because it's a heavy ring.
Right, 26, 25.
But the other couple of $100 is for your labor in making it. Now, the only thing that I have to determine is whether you gave him back this ring. And I can't understand why he would be here if you gave him back the ring, sir.
Money. That's all I can figure.
Your Honor, I make $1,000 a week. I'm a union electrician. I make $30, $45 an hour. I have my pay stubs right here, and believe me, it's not money.
Then why are you asking $2,600 for a $700
because
ring?
I have the ring, it was like $700. The cost coming from the Bay Area, I estimated about 200 miles. It's 800-mile round trip. Lost wages at $30, $45 an hour. 2 days is $487. Appraisal was $50. The process server was $115. Mr. Bonner had to take off work today at 27 and a half
What's he
times
doing
4.
here?
He's the witness that a few months later that Mr. Torres still possessed this ring. I figured he was going to start this today.
Step up here, sir. Tell me your name.
Richard Bonner.
Mr. Bonner, how do you know Mr. Torres?
He's done some work for me.
What do you know about this ring?
I've seen it.
When was the last time you saw it on Mr. Torres?
Oh, it's, I think it was March when he was doing some work for me.
How do you remember it?
He's done more work for me since then.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't have the ring, so I don't know
Well,
what to tell you.
What? You may not have it, but I don't believe that you gave it back to him.
I did give it back to him.
I don't believe it.
And later today,
Tell me how much each one of these pool cues cost.
We figured between $1,800 and $2,000 per cue.
And what do these pool cues do for $2,000 a piece?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charlie Weidman claims he made a ring for his biker buddy Larry Torres and was never paid. Larry says he gave the ring back to Charlie.
Mr. Torres, it is not common sense that you gave him back the ring and he goes to the trouble of serving you with summons, which cost him money, having the ring appraised, which cost him money, if in fact he had the ring in his possession. That just doesn't make sense to me, sir.
No, I don't have the ring, so I don't know what to tell you.
What? You may not have it, but I don't believe that you gave it back to him.
I did give it back to him.
I don't believe it. So I believe that you did not, in fact, return the ring to him. That doesn't mean that you still have it. I don't know what you did with it. Only you know what you did with it, and you didn't return it to him. Now, Mr. Weidman, I know you're suing for $2,600, and the truth of the matter is I'm not going to give you $2,600. I'm going to give you the $700 that you say you agreed on with this gentleman to pay for the ring. I also think that that gave you somewhat of a profit. You know, you said that there was
profit.
I'm speaking. That the gold in the ring itself was worth about $500 maximum, according to you. Mr. Torres was, in fact, a friend of yours. I don't see why you shouldn't charge him something, you know, because you did use your skill in making the ring. And if that's the way you do business with your friends, that's your business. But I'm certainly not going to give you a windfall of $2,600, sir. So the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $700. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Blondio versus Paget. Step forward, please.
Billiard supply owner Peggy Blondio says she gave 31-year-old Tim Paget $6,000 to make custom pool cues and is suing because he didn't finish the work.
Well, I must admit it's nice to know at my age you can learn something new. This case is about pool cues.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you, Miss Blondio, claim that the defendant breached a contract that you had made with him by failing to produce some custom-made pool cues for you within an appropriate period of time. You gave him $5,000 deposit? $6,000. $6,000 deposit, and he didn't deliver.
Correct.
So why don't you first tell me how much each one of these pool cues cost?
We didn't have an exact price, Mr. Paget and I, as far as what he was going to charge me. We figured between $1,800 and $2,000 per cue.
And what do these pool cues do for $2,000 a piece?
Well, they're like a piece of art based on the person that makes the cue, the materials that are in it. These cues were to have ambonia burl, 14-karat gold, and a lot of ivory.
And is this your business?
Yes, I work for Beach Billiard Supply. I'm an owner, and I've done this for 11 years.
When did you make this agreement with him?
I gave Mr. Paget a check on August 9th, 1996. The verbal contract went into agreement at that point. My store manager, Ken Harity, was the witness to that and was involved in deciding what the cues would be made out of and whatnot.
Okay, and what was the promised delivery date?
They were to be delivered in October of 1996.
And they weren't?
That's correct.
And he still has your $6,000?
That's correct.
All right, Mr. Paget. Now, I see that there's something over there that doesn't look like a telescope, so it must be one of these fancy pool cues. Is that what one of those pool cues looks like? I would really like to see a $2,000 pool cue.
This is they're not finished. I stopped production in September. That was one of the anniversary cues, not complete.
September of '97, you stopped
yes,
production.
Your Honor.
Bird, could you get that? You don't have to put it together. I could sort of take a look at it.
No, this is two separate cues, Your Honor. This one here is a $10,000 pool stick.
It's $10,000?
Yes, Your Honor.
It can't fit on your finger, does
No,
it?
it can't.
If it can't fit on your finger, it ain't worth 10 grand. Well, it certainly is lovely. How long does it take you to make one of these things, sir?
Average 3 months to a year, depending on the materials and...
A year to make one?
Yes, Your Honor.
No, you can't. You got to be kidding me, sir.
No,
Because
that's
if you
not
charge, shh, don't help. Because if that were true, then you only make $2,000 a year.
No, Your Honor, a lot of the time is just sitting time. When you have a large amount of money invested in materials, as I do in these cues, they sit for 3, 4, 5, 6 months before I put the actual gold in, the ivory in.
Why do they sit?
Because cues warp. They warp, and then if I was to sell a cue for $2,000 and 3 months later the person comes back and says the cue's warped, I have to replace that cue.
So it's got to sit and sort of ripen with age.
Exactly, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you say, I'm having trouble with material, I can't get the material, you can either wait or I'll give you your money back? Did you say that to her?
No, the money was spent.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Peggy Blondio is suing pool cue maker Tim Paget because he took her money and then broke their agreement by failing to make 10 custom pool cues.
Now, you took her money in August of 1996.
This is correct.
And you stopped production in September of 1997.
The agreed date was not in October. That's an impossibility. My name is in the Blue Book of Pool Cues. It says right in here that it takes me 3 to 8 months to make a cue, and that was 2 years ago.
Just a second. 3 to 8 months.
Correct.
So August, September, October is not an outside, is not something that's out of fantasy, sir, because even according to you, 2 years ago, when you first entered into a contract with her in August of '96, you say that you could make a cue between 3 and 6 and 8 months. So August, September, and October. That's 3 months.
That's a very plain cue, Your Honor. That's like a $400 to $500 cue. I did not tell her I would have them done in October of '96.
When did you tell her you would have them done, according to you, sir?
There was a BCA show in July of '97. I said I would try and have the first 3 done by then.
So you're telling her that she has to wait a year for her cues?
Originally, no. July of '97 was the show in Las Vegas.
That's 11 months later.
That's
August of '96 to July of '97.
okay.
That's 11 months later.
Correct.
That's when you said you would have them for her.
Exactly.
And you didn't.
I told her in January that I had not received the material yet. I was having major problems with the wood, that it was going to take longer. She asked me for a date, and I could not give her one.
Well, then why didn't you give her her money back?
She didn't ask for it. She just said, get them done as soon as you can.
Excuse me, I did.
What did you say?
My mother's my business partner had not contacted Mr. Paget in November, requesting the money back because I had come into some financial situations where I needed the money. So she had asked him to replace the money. I also
did somebody call and ask you for the money back in November?
Her mother asked me for the money back. I confronted Peggy. I said, Peggy, is this true? Do you want the money back? And Peggy says, no, don't pay any attention to my mother. I do not want the money back. I want the cues. Get them done as soon as you can. Those were her exact words.
No.
What was the next conversation that you had with him after your mother had the conversation with him and asked for the money back?
I told him that yes, I was entering. I was entering some financial situations that I did need the money back. He said that he'd already invested in the materials and therefore couldn't give me the money back. Then I said I needed the cues as soon as possible as we were entering the Christmas season, and my hope was to sell them then.
Well, that's not so far off. He said, I've already invested in some material money, and you said, well, if you've already done that, as long as you get me the cues before Christmas, then fine. And what did he say?
Well, in November, I was told I'd have them in the first or second week in December. In December, I was told I would have them in January. In January, I was told I'd have them in February because I wanted to go to a trade show. They never were produced. I tried to at least get 3 cues because there were supposed to be 10. That never materialized. My bi-weekly phone calls were reduced to weekly, monthly, and then bi-monthly. My store manager, Ken Haggerty, was witness to the date of completion that Mr. Pageant had stated to me, and that was October.
Step up. Tell me your name, sir.
Ken Haggerty.
Were you there when they made this contract?
I was.
And what do you recall was said?
To the best of my recollection, what we talked about, because I was part of the conversation, was what was going to be in the cues, approximately how much they would be worth, and when we would possibly get some of them. Hopefully, we asked to have at least 1 cue because we planned on a whole advertisement around this particular anniversary cue, and we were hoping to get at least 1 to take a photograph of to put in magazines.
What did he say about delivery, if you remember? Make sure if
To the best of my recollection, it was going to be by October, and then it became November, and then it became December, and it just progressed. And I spoke to him personally a couple of times, asking when can we get our cues, and I continually got excuses why we couldn't get them, and that was it.
Now, sir, to date, you do not have any pool cues to give them, is that right?
I stopped production on them when I was served papers by her attorney. And that was September 17th, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you say, I'm having trouble with material, I can't get the material, you can either wait or I'll give you your money back? Did you say that to her?
No, the money was spent. I have receipts for over $5,000 worth of material that was sent out.
Just a minute, that's not her problem. You made an agreement with this lady to make pool cues for her within a reasonable period of time. According to you, that was, according to the book, 3 to 8 months. And 8 months after she gave you $6,000, she still had zippo, nothing. So you breached the contract. You got to give her back the money. My limit is $5,000 here. Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Woo!
Body's excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm extremely pleased with it. I think that it was a fair decision.
The judge obviously doesn't know what she's talking about, so.
I'm just pleased that it turned out the way it did.
Lori Mahal is suing petting zoo owner Gil Jones because his rabbit attacked her and bit her on the ankle.
Order, all rise. Judge, this is case number 363 on the calendar in the matter of Mahal versus Jones. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ladies.
Mr. Jones, you are the owner of a petting zoo. Is that correct?
Yes,
Is that
Your
a
Honor.
children's petting zoo?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were there with your children?
With my one son with a play group.
And you allege in your complaint that while there you were bitten by one of his animals?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
I was there in the petting zoo area, and I happened to see a young boy with long pants on get bitten by the same rabbit. And I spoke to the mother, and I says, oh, check to see if he broke the skin. And when I said the skin, this rabbit came from behind the bench and grabbed my leg, bit in, and with his claws and everything, held my leg and wouldn't let go. I had to actually shake him loose from me.
When did you go to the doctor?
I went to the doctor's. It was almost 8:30 by the time I actually got the appointment.
The same day that
yes.
you arrived home?
Yes.
Do you have the doctor's report?
Yes.
May I see it, please?
It's all the medical.
I see, August 21st. Okay, clean wound, and then you were given some augmentin.
Augmentin.
Okay. Okay, sir. She
Your
says she
Honor.
was bitten by one of your rabbits.
I won't deny that, Your Honor, because it happens occasionally. I have no recollection of Mrs. Majul's incident. However, I might defer to my wife, who was in the barn at the same time we were. We were very busy that day, and she recalls offering some aid to some lady that came and mentioned that someone had been bitten by a rabbit.
Where's your wife?
It's my wife, Millie.
Would you step up, please? Do you remember this date in August? Do you remember this lady?
I don't remember the lady. I remember when the letter arrived and it said Oceanside. I remembered the group that arrived on the train that day at the farm.
Did you, in fact, assist someone who had been bitten?
A friend did come to me. I work at the entrance, and said that her friend was bitten by a rabbit in the petting area. I had hydrogen peroxide and Band-Aids for first aid, and she said my friend has taken care of it. She has an antiseptic in her purse. And I said, well, I'll send somebody in to catch the rabbit and remove it from the petting area. When you see them, point out which rabbit it is so we can remove it.
Mr. Jones, I am going to show you a document that's entitled General Liability Notice of Occurrence of Claim.
Yes.
And I want to ask you if this is something that you filled out. Is that something that you filled out for your insurance company, sir?
What I did, I sent a letter to the insurance company along with Mrs. Majul's letter explaining, to the best of my knowledge, after talking to my wife, the situation.
Okay.
And this document is fairly accurate, yes.
Okay. Now, I will tell you that this came along with your statements, your complaint and your answer, along with several other documents that you wish me to consider. I was concerned about something that I read here, and I'd like you to see if you can explain it to me. It says that OP, which I assume is you, I don't know what that stands for, allegedly bitten by a rabbit. However, rabbit did not belong to you, captured rabbit someplace, and placed it in a cage there at the petting zoo. Now, do you remember who said that? Was it you or your wife?
My daughter actually caught the rabbit, Your Honor. At least she
You the
told
daughter?
me she did. It's my
Step up
daughter,
here.
Jennifer.
Jennifer, you caught this rabbit?
Yes, that's our policy. If one of the rabbits maybe gets too much handling, or they get sometimes too much handling, and we take them and put them in a cage in the back.
No, it says rabbit did not belong to you.
Right.
It was captured someplace.
I don't know about the captured part.
Well, that's what it says. Captured rabbit someplace and placed it in a cage there at the petting zoo. Does that mean it was captured someplace outside of the petting zoo? It was a wild rabbit?
What it is the public on occasion, if they don't want their animal anymore, excuse me, will drive by and let it out. So this rabbit was hanging around the petting area because of the other rabbits.
Do you know that for a fact, or is this something that you...
No, I know all the animals there, and this was an unusual
So this was
rabbit.
not a rabbit that was supposed to be on your petting farm. Is that correct?
Correct.
When did you first know that it was there?
It had been there probably 2 days, and you have to kind of see our place to understand it's hard to catch them.
What do you mean it was an unusual rabbit?
Unusual. It wasn't one of ours. I know them, and I knew it wasn't ours.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This rabbit was not our rabbit, and we didn't want this rabbit.
Unfortunately, what you're saying to me is only making matters worse, Miss Jones.
And later today,
Show me, since May, your checks to Sign and Travel.
Did you hear what I said? I said there isn't any.
There is.
I haven't paid since May.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lori Mahal is suing zoo owner Gil Jones because a rabbit attacked her. Gil says it wasn't his rabbit.
I have another question for you, because something that's concerned me. When you bring these animals into your petting zoo, are they tested for rabies?
Julie Ryan, she's the vet at the Orange County Animal Shelter. She comes on a regular basis to check the animals. They don't vaccinate rabbits for rabies, nor do they, if you were to get bit, they don't come and quarantine them.
Why?
Because that's what she told us. She's a head vet at the animal shelter. I called them to have clarity on that matter, and that's what...
So you mean to tell me that you can take in a wild rabbit, because as far as you know, this could have been a wild rabbit, wasn't one that was bred in your facility, and they are not vaccinated for rabies?
They don't vaccinate the rabbits for rabies. But this rabbit was, it was not our rabbit, and we didn't want this rabbit, but we couldn't catch it. So the shelter did come and take it. They came and took it.
Unfortunately, what you're saying to me is only making matters worse, Miss Jones, and I'm going to tell you why. Because, according to you, you saw this rabbit on your premises for at least 2 days before this incident occurred, and it was not removed. You knew that it wasn't a rabbit that belonged on your premises, so you knew that it wasn't one that had a history of being gentle and being used to being touched. And yet you permitted all these children to come and play in your petting zoo, despite the fact that you knew that this one animal was not one that you could vouch for. This was an animal that you knew you had not seen before, did not belong there, and and you knew that at least 2 days before this lady was bitten. So you're liable for her injuries. Now, what do you believe your injuries are?
Okay.
Is the question. You were bitten by a rabbit.
I was bitten, and I still have the scars, and I have pictures here, and these pictures were taken a month after the bite.
Let me take a look at them.
You can see the scar, and I can also show you the leg. It's still got a big purple scar on my ankle.
Well, I would like to see it. Ooh, that's nasty.
And this is 4 months.
That is nasty. You say that you missed work.
Yes, I missed 41 hours of
So you missed a week's worth of work?
Yes.
And how much, why did you miss that much work?
Because it was still painful.
What kind of work do you do?
It was swelling. I work on my feet. I'm a cashier. So I couldn't stand on my feet.
So you missed a week's worth of work. You had certain medical bills. They were minimal because you covered, your medical bills are covered. Your request is for $1,250, and that, I assume, includes pain and suffering.
Yes.
That's a minimal request, Mr. Jones. Quite frankly, you are absolutely liable for this rabbit that was on your property. And sometimes unfortunate things happen, I'm certain. But in this particular case, it's even more egregious, sir, because you knew that this rabbit did not belong on your property. You had no idea where it came from. You had no idea whether it was a wild rabbit and could have been infected. And you did not, according to what I've heard today, exercise due care in removing that rabbit immediately from your premises, which you should have. The rabbit bit her, and she's entitled to be compensated. 4 months later, she still has a substantial scar as a result of this. Judgment is of the plaintiff in the amount of $1,250 as requested. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
That's our story, and that's the truth, and that's all we can say. We can't really expound on what the judge ruled. She made her point of law very clear.
And now the next case.
Parties on Torres versus Biles. Step forward, please.
31-year-old Michelle Torres says her mother's ex-husband, 33-year-old Roger Bile, borrowed Michelle's credit card for an Aspen vacation. Roger didn't pay her back because he didn't go to Aspen.
All right, Ms. Torres, the defendant was married to your mother.
Correct.
How long were they married?
About 6.5 years.
this your mother?
Yes, it is.
Are you now divorced, sir?
Yes.
But while you were married to her mother, according to this complaint, he borrowed some money from you by putting some tickets on a credit card that was yours.
Right, a ski package deal.
And you were all living together at this time?
Correct, I was living with them.
He made some payments?
Yeah, made some payments.
And he still owes you $1,100?
Correct.
So you want to tell me how this loan came about?
In December of '94, Roger came to me and wanted to go to Aspen, Colorado for a ski trip. He asked me if I would...
Roger.
This is Roger. He asked me if I would put the ski package on my American Express card because the Ritz-Carlton was running a special if you put it on your American Express card. He had previously had an American Express card, but it had been canceled. I went to my mom, I told my mom, asked her, Roger wants me to do this, should I do this? She advised me not to. She said he still had unpaid bills and debts, but even though he made plenty of money, he's just kind of doesn't pay his bills. He had repeatedly promised that he would pay me back, and so I believed him, and it was a Christmas present for him and my mom and myself. It was a Christmas bonus as well. So I believed him.
What do you mean a Christmas bonus?
Well, I had worked for him, and he said it was my Christmas present and a bonus since I did such a good job working for his business. So we went on the ski trip. Everything was fine. We came back. He started...
The three of you?
The three of us went on the ski trip, went skiing, had a good time. And we came back, he started making payments, like he promised that he would pay my American Express card.
So this was a sign and travel on American Express?
Exactly.
So you don't have to pay it off at one time, you can pay off little bits at a time.
Right. So he kept promising me that he was going to pay it in larger chunks, and the chunks got smaller and smaller. And I believed him. He promised me that you're my stepdaughter, I would never screw you over, no matter what happens between him and my mom. In April of this year, he committed adultery on my mom, so my mom divorced him. And in May, he came to my work and said that he would give me $400 towards the $1,500 he owed me. The amount got down to $1,500 from $3,000.
It was originally $3,000.
Right.
He paid $1,500.
Correct.
He still owed $1,500.
Correct.
And then in May, he paid another $400.
Correct. Brought it down to $1,100.
Okay.
And right after I had him sign
this... So far, is that correct, sir? You made those payments?
It's been paid off.
Mr. Pyle, so far, you made payments?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
3 weeks after Linda and I split up, everything from my home was stolen. Linda took it all. Every document, every paperwork, every receipt.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle Torres is suing her mother's ex-husband, Roger Bile, for not paying for an Aspen vacation.
What happened after May? He gave you $400.
And signed this receipt telling me he would pay me the rest of the $1,100.
Show it to him, please.
That's his original signature.
You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, after May, did he make any payments?
No.
Okay. Why not?
The debt she's talking about for the Aspen trip was paid in full.
No, it wasn't.
Church, don't speak.
The tickets that she's talking about that was on the sign and travel was for a trip for my ex-wife to go to Europe with her other daughter, and later on I found out her first husband.
Yeah.
That was put on sign and travel. The Aspen trip was paid in full.
Show me.
I have no receipts.
Just a second. How much was the Aspen trip, sir?
About $3 grand.
Well, show me that you paid the $3,000.
I'd love to, Your Honor. 3 weeks after Linda and I split up, everything from my home was stolen. Linda took it all.
Mm-hmm.
Every document, every paperwork, every receipt.
Mr. Bile, so what you're saying to me, sir, is that you acknowledged that you put $3,000 on her sign and travel.
Correct.
And
I didn't. Michelle did it. It was an agreement we had at home. She lived with me at the time.
But that you agreed to pay for it, and you did, what you just said to me was it was paid in full.
Yes.
But you do not have any receipts to show or any checks.
I don't have them. I had to give them to another court.
Well, Mr. Bile, I'm not so sure that you can't get duplicate copies of every check, sir. But I'm looking at your answer. Mm-hmm. And your answer says, if I am liable for this debt, I hope you will recognize that it's a community debt and a 50-50 split with my ex-wife as well as the $4,000 I already paid. So in one respect, you say to me here, sir, that you've already paid it.
I have
And
paid.
here, you say, if it is a debt, half of it should be hers.
There was $1,500 left on the debt. I don't say there wasn't. The Aspen trip was $3,000. The Europe ticket for Linda was $1,500. That's the rest of the portion that needed to be paid. There was two separate things that went on her sign and travel.
When do you say she came into your house and took all the records?
It's about 3 weeks prior to that.
3 weeks prior to what?
To the signing of that receipt.
Okay.
The reason I signed that receipt is because they said it's the only way I could get back some tax documents I needed.
I know that you say you signed this thing under duress, sir. I'm not interested in that. You don't look like the kind of man who would sign something under duress.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So what you're telling me is 3 weeks after they allegedly took all this stuff, you signed this document indicating you still owed her $1,500.
Yes.
Okay. So that your story to me, Mr. Bile, does not have a ring of truth to it. Because if you say she stole all your documents prior to this, then you should have all your documents subsequent to this. And if you admitted that you owed her $1,500 in May, you should have everything after May to show me that you paid her, because you say it's paid in full.
I haven't paid since May.
Well, why not?
Because I never, first of all, never got contacted from her or sent an invoice or any kind of documentation how much the payment was.
What do you mean how much the payment was? You signed something that said $1,500.
These were monthly payments that were set up.
Just a second. You had been paying Sign and Travel. Your
Monthly.
checks went to your checks went to Sign and Travel, correct? Show me since May your checks to Sign and Travel.
Did you hear what I said? I said there isn't any.
There is.
I
Why
haven't
not?
paid since May.
Then I'm asking you again, sir. You had paid before May, and you say you don't have those checks because they were all stolen. So since May, you should have the checks if you in fact paid. And if you didn't pay, then according to this signed document, which is a note, you still owe her the money, which is, at this point, $1,100 because you paid her $400 in May.
Okay.
Judgment is for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,100. That's all.
Thank you.
All right, excuse you. May step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Forget it. I'm done. I'm done.
Loser.
Forget it. I'm done. I told you to
I'm
keep
sorry.
away.
I'm sorry I said something like that on camera.
completely
I'm
lying.
sorry. I'm sorry. He's done nothing but
he's dirt.
just want to have fun, fun, fun all the time. It doesn't matter what he does. He just enjoys the fun and throws everybody else away and everything away. Never pays the bill. Never does anything.
Yeah.
All he does
He's
is care
slime.
about himself.
He's slime. He's slime.
He claims none of the dates were satisfactory, and he wants a refund.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Judges, number 424. No, Judge, sometimes you just don't listen. This is number 424 on the calendar in the matter of Genitz versus Together. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Your last name isn't Together.
No, Marcia Engel.
Engel?
Engel.
And you have a dating service?
I work for a dating service.
You own it?
No, I don't.
Do you have the power to appear here on behalf of the owner?
Yes, I do.
You were interested in meeting some ladies.
Yes. Together contacted me by telephone and left me a message on my answer machine.
How did they contact you?
In the past, I had filled out a thing that they have if you're interested in possibly joining a dating service. It was like a few years earlier, and I never did join Together. But evidently, they recalled after a couple years looking for new clients, I suppose.
Okay.
So they called, and they left me a message wondering if I'd be interested. And like I said, left a message on my answer machine. I called back, and I says, sure. I talked to some gentleman, which I don't know what his name was, and I set up an appointment. So I went down there probably within a few days or a week's time, and I met this woman named Gail. That's who they had me. She basically told me what the structure of Together was all about, how it worked. We sat down. I probably stayed there, I would imagine, if I remember, a couple hours. They really get personal into your business. They want to know who you are, what kind of money you make, do you really work. And also they have you fill out a form asking you what particulars are you looking for in a person, whether it be age, looks, background.
Do you have a copy of that form?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. That actual form, I don't. I went up to the office and I asked if I could get that particular form that I filled out, and they told me I'd have to make an appointment for during the week.
Let me see a copy of the form he filled out, please. Anyway, how much did this cost you, sir?
$795.
That's what you paid them in total?
Yes.
Okay. It says he will date, age range, well, it says 30 to 40, and that's crossed out, but in parentheses it says 35. Height range, 5'3" to 6 feet? Is that
yeah,
what you
I probably did. I don't remember that part.
Slender. You don't care whether they're single, divorced, or widowed, right?
Well, no.
Marital status. You don't care.
They can't be married.
Single, divorced, or widowed.
Yeah.
And with kids, maybe.
Right.
Prefer a non-smoker, social drinker, Caucasian, education is open, profession is open, Christian, Catholic. So far?
Right. It didn't matter, really,
Okay.
the religion so much as Christian.
And the rest of it, sort of the soft stuff. Honest, caring, hard worker, romantic, easygoing, down to earth, open-minded, sense of humor.
Right, they asked both of us.
I'd like all those things too.
Right. Don't we now?
What?
We do, but you know, that's just the basics of trying to match. You're not going to get all that, I realize.
Yeah,
that.
I know. Okay. And then it tells you, it's your wish list.
Well, it's something I paid for, basically.
Right. All right. Now, you're suing them for even more than the $795 because you said you had to take a lot of these ladies out on dates, I assume.
No, that's not true. I'm just suing for my court costs and me taking off work to file for court costs. I'm not asking for money back. And actually, I never really took the women out. We had like meetings. What it is you...
Okay. So the contract was $795. Now, I'd like you to describe for me, sir, you did go out on some dates that they arranged for
Actually,
you.
they weren't really dates or meetings.
Meetings?
Yes.
All right.
It's a difference.
Meetings.
Okay.
Because you weren't going to spend anything unless you sort of like...
Well, that's how it works for both parties.
You
It's
go someplace,
right,
you meet,
exactly.
you look,
You yes.
take a look, and then you leave.
Exactly. You feel each other out to understand what you're coming from, who you like.
Okay. And where do these meetings usually take place?
The first one, the first lady that I met her up in her hometown. I think it was up around Buffalo Grove, if I remember right.
Okay, and describe this lady to me.
I don't know what you mean by describe her.
Describe her physical appearance.
Physical features. She was heavier than I wanted in a woman, and she had dark hair, and she was what I would, in my personal preference, not what I would even consider average looking, because I asked for somebody in this, like I said, something I paid for. I asked for something. I didn't say attractive. I said better than average looking is what I stated on that thing.
Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder.
Exactly. And it's something.
How old?
I'm sorry.
How old?
How old? If I remember right, she was, I think, 38 or 39.
So that's within the age range.
It was.
Okay, and she was available. She was either single, widowed, or divorced.
She was a nice person. We sat at a bar in this German tavern, and we had drinks, and we talked for a while, and she just wasn't my type at all.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
So I assume that after that date, you called back and said she wasn't my type.
Actually, they have a form that you fill out. Until you can get another date, you have to fill out like a fact finder form.
Okay, so then you filled out a form. Do you have a copy of that form?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please? This was after the first date.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this says She was friendly and down to earth. No attraction on my part. I like ladies a little slimmer. To me, she was what I consider average looking. I'm afraid to ask.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, here's the woman that you went out with who was 43. He told me he knew it would never work and got up and left. How embarrassing. He was the most impolite person I've ever met, and I feel very sorry for anyone who meets him.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tom Jeanette says Marcia Engel and Together Dating Service did not fulfill his dating needs, and he wants a refund. Marcia says the contract clearly states there are no refunds.
So tell me about the second date.
Okay, the second date, they call me, and it's a woman, which I didn't want to really meet anybody in her 40s at the time. Like I said, I had a preference on there. And I don't remember the woman's name, but I told her, I says, listen, you guys are not giving me what I want. And she said, oh, no, you won't be sorry. Oh, you got to go out with her. You really like her. So I said, okay, give me her phone number.
She was in her 40s.
Yeah, I don't
How old
remember.
are you?
I'm 43. I just turned 43.
How old was she?
How old was she? I don't remember. She was in maybe 43 or 44 at the time. I really don't remember. But I know she was in her 40s.
Okay, so this lady that you went out with the second time was about your age.
Okay, yes.
Right?
Right.
What was wrong with her?
What was wrong with her? She just was a total mismatch. Not at all anything that I was looking for. And I felt...
Tell me why.
Tell you why? Basically, she was, to me, very unattractive. And when I sat with her and talked with her, I didn't find we had that much in common at all.
Can I see? And you filled out a form after that?
Yes, there should have been a form.
Can I see the form? Well, this sort of says it all. Don't you have anybody in your files that takes care of their bodies by exercising? Do you exercise?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so that's your second date. And what happened the third date?
The third date, she sounded okay on the phone. I said, I'll give her a chance. They said she's really nice, so. Anyway, I meet her, and we're talking, and she just wasn't my type. She's a very nice person. But what shocked me is what she told me was...
What do you mean? I'll get to that in a second. You say a very nice person. How old was she?
I'm going to say 39. I'm not sure.
Okay. Nice looking?
Like you said, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and it wasn't what I was looking for. Okay.
Overweight?
Somewhat.
How much is somewhat?
I didn't gauge her. She wasn't what I was asking for. I was asking, like you read earlier, somebody slim and build, and all three women were not. Unfortunately, it's my preference. And
what did she do for a living?
Well, she was a cocktail waitress, I think she said, and I forgot what else she said. But that was one of her jobs.
Uh-huh. And so you were going to tell me what she said to you at this meeting.
Okay, at the meeting we were talking, basically, and she told me that she didn't even belong to Together anymore, that her membership had run out, but that Together was lacking women to supply to gentlemen within the group. So they would contact her every once in a while and send her out on a date. And she said, hey, why not? It's not costing me nothing. Now, I was kind of floored when she told me that, but she said, I didn't mind.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds like she was honest.
Yeah.
Right? That's the first thing that you put down here. Honest. So you had 3 dates. Did you have any more dates?
No, they started calling with women in the 40 range again, and I said no. And then I just refused, and that's when we got into this matter here of filing for a small claims lawsuit.
Okay, go. I'm hearing your side.
Okay. As far as we're concerned, we have serviced him with women that were in accordance with what he was requesting, and the fact that he was not, there was no chemistry between them and that he wasn't physically attracted wasn't any part of our agreement.
Mm-hmm. This last person that you arranged for a meeting with, she had, at the time, an expired contract with you?
Okay, that I'm not aware of, and I couldn't answer that. We only have active members.
Well, she said she wasn't an active member.
Okay.
She told him that. Does your organization ever contact people that aren't active members?
No, we don't. No, we don't.
So this honest lady was lying. This honest lady was lying.
I don't know what he's representing that she said.
I believe him when he said that that's what she told him. You signed a contract, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And you seem as if you are an intelligent person.
Right.
Right? I was sort of surprised after having heard you when you said she made me feel comfortable enough to sign a contract without thoroughly looking it over.
Right. Basically,
It was all part of a con game.
Okay.
What kind of work do you do?
Okay, I'm a service advisor for an automobile dealership.
What does that mean, a service advisor?
I'm the first person you make contact with when you bring in a vehicle for repairs. I write down what your complaints are, and then I relay the information to the mechanics, and I deal with insurance companies, and I may have to call the customer back on costs.
So that you're a pretty educated person?
Right.
Well, then if you sign a contract, you're supposed to read it.
I understand that, but when I was talking with Gail, I even asked her, when we got to the final point where we're going to sign the contract, I asked her, I said, I guess I should read this? But she says just to save time, basically what it says in here is that you're not the basic axe murderer, and that we're not liable for anything you might do, and that you're a normal person kind of thing.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes,
Somebody brings their car into your dealership, they sign a piece of paper, right?
Right.
It's a long agreement that they sign. They just come in, they drop their car off on their way to work. You have the clipboard here. Listen, I've been there a lot. They have a clipboard here, and they say, you drop your car off, could you sign here, please? Right?
Yes.
They sign over there. How many people that sign over there, sir,
right,
read what they're signing?
Right.
How many?
Probably not most of them.
Right. Now, if one of those people that came into your car repair service center said, I didn't read it. You know, I was in a rush. I was going to work.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's not a con game, sir. It's business. You didn't get a guarantee, sir, that you were going to meet Cinderella.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tom Jeanetts wants Marcia Engel and Together Dating Service to refund his money. He says he didn't have one satisfying date.
And what I'm saying to you, sir, is I know you were disappointed, but you signed a contract, and your contract clearly says, can't read it without my glasses, it says the client agrees that upon receipt of the client's first referral, shall not be entitled to any refund. That's what it says.
It does say that, but what was the con game all about with Gail telling me that, yes, don't worry about it, we have all kinds of nice women for you to meet and things, women that you're looking for. You know,
it's not a con game, sir, it's business. They say they have a lot of nice women. You say 2 of the 3 women that you went out with were very nice people that you just had no chemistry with. Well, you sat and talked to them. They were nice. One of them was nice and honest. You know, they didn't look like Quasimodo. You know, they may have not been your exact type.
Right, but like I said, it's something I paid for, and they weren't supplying.
You weren't satisfied. You didn't get a guarantee, sir, that you were going to meet.
But they
that you were going to meet Cinderella.
I had this. It's not the Cinderella. It's not even a Cinderella factor. I have a form in there that says that they will try to get it better for you each time. We're gonna justify. We're gonna modify this for you. And it's not. There's no thought process to it.
I'm not sure there's no thought process. You have certain things that you want. That's what happens when you use a dating service.
Right.
You have comments on the women that he went out with?
I thought they were all very compatible. We matched by...
No, comments from the women. Right? He filled out these forms.
We do.
He filled out these forms.
Yes,
so I'd like to see the forms that they filled out. I assume that you charge the women the same thing?
There's different memberships, so the pricing is based on the type of membership that they buy.
What do you mean different memberships? You pay one price, you get ugly people, you get good.
Based
one
on
price,
the
you get
number
better.
of referrals that you're purchasing.
Judge, that's
well, just a second. That's a lot of double talk. Where does it say that here? In this contract? That you're contracting $795 for 9 referrals. You have other contracts say you're contracting for different amounts for different numbers of referrals? Is that what you're saying?
Right.
So that's what it is. Was that explained to you, sir?
It's not working out. The second date that I had, she got very upset. During the meeting, she brought up the subject of how much did you pay for the date? And we both signed up, I think it was the same weekend. And she paid a couple $100 more than me, and she had a fit because she called Marcia. And Marcia called me, and also on that date, she called me up telling me that I have to give these women a chance and date them and get to know them.
Let me see their
That's my
comments.
money I have to spend on dates, not theirs.
You just told me you didn't spend any money on dates.
No, if I had to, they're telling me I should take them out.
Well, you didn't, sir. You didn't take
No, I
them out.
didn't, but I thought that was wrong. They should be telling me what I have to do. It's a service I paid for.
Have you always been single?
No,
How long were you married?
14 years.
Well, here's the woman that you went out with who was 43. Around your age. She said, when I met him at the restaurant, he did not even give me time to sit down. He told me he knew it would never work and got up and left. How embarrassing. He was the most impolite person I've ever met, and I feel very sorry for anyone who meets him. Did you just get up and leave?
No, I sat there with her for about 10 minutes or so talking, and I did tell her, I said, this is not going to work. I shook her hand, and I said, good luck to you. I hope you have good luck with the service.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I do not find that there was any fraud on the part of the defendants. Their contract clearly states that this is a non-refundable fee. You took advantage of their service on 3 occasions. It's certainly not what you had wanted, but the first one that you went out with, who you said was a nice person, who was in the age category that you had requested, you didn't find her particularly attractive, but that doesn't mean somebody else might not.
Exactly.
So they fulfilled their part of the contract according to this contract when they sent you out on 1 referral. They gave you another referral that you said was also not bad, probably in your age category, and you weren't crazy about her either. The only one that you got up and walked out on was this 43-year-old lady.
And I didn't just get up and walk out on her.
Okay.
We sat there for a while.
Sir, you're old enough so that when you sign a contract, you're supposed to read it and understand it. You're not supposed to let anybody flim-flam you by saying to you, you don't have to read the contract. You're in a contract-oriented business, so you should know better. If it didn't work out this way, try meeting and mingling.
Yeah,
That's all. This
I
case
find
is
it's worked
dismissed.
better.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'll state and I'll go to my deathbed saying that it's something I paid for, something I requested to save me money and time, and it wasn't supplied, and they just kind of throw what they want at them. That's